Right, so should we just go? In our usual let's wing it.
Let's just
Wing
see.
it.
Let's just let the magic happen. Okay, now, brace yourself.
The crack is back.
The crack is
indeed.
back. Here we go again. Lucky number 13. From Crack 13. Chink, chink. Okay. Lucky for everybody.
Apart from maybe our glorious listener.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, much to everybody's surprise, we're still here 13 episodes later. What was dismissed as a flight of fancy of a couple of stupid old men goes from strength to strength. So again, for our new listeners, John's a good old staunch Labour lefty in the old school style, and I'm a sensible, rational, mature right winger because let's face it, there's not many older lefties that still have any credibility. But there we go. So we're going to talk in our usual way about a few interesting subjects, catch up on a few long-running stories, and hopefully have a bit of a laugh, listen to some music, and drink the alcohol that at present remains a mystery. We've been collecting far too much whiskey, so we've decided to become more diverse and inclusive in the alcohol we consume.
I think it's. I think merely the mystery whiskey is just maybe a bit more mysterious than it used to be.
Yes, it is. So before we get into this week's quick fire round, we're going to start off with a little bit of music, and this is another one of my faves, and it's good old Jimi Hendrix, and it's Freedom from the album Cry of Love. Well, a little bit of classic Jimi Hendrix. I haven't heard that one for years. That's a great track. Great, mates.
Groovy.
Yes, indeed. Good. So, right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard us speak previously about, for those watching on YouTube, and you may have noticed that there wasn't actually very much on YouTube at all. But we're slowly supplanting the technical difficulties that have dogged us previously. Basically complete ignorance of these things and tried to, making loads of mistakes and finding our way through. So that we actually had the last episode in total is on Brumcrack Clips. If you go to YouTube and search Brumcrack Clips.
Try not to say that when you're pissed.
Brumcrack, yeah.
Clips.
And you'll see it there. Now, of course, for copyright reasons, we can't play the music. But all our witty and prescient banter is there for you all to see.
And we can put the links to the music.
We can put the links.
Comments.
We can put the links
description.
In the description. The links are in the description.
That's right.
And you'll be able to listen to those. And of course, what that does do is give us the opportunity to put film clips of up and coming exciting events. But also to sort of expand our reach. We're no longer restricted to Spotify. So there's going to be a version of our podcast going out on other platforms, but obviously without the music. We'll do the intros and so on and so forth, just the way it is. Of course, Spotify, as I previously mentioned, are ending our ability to use copyright music and turn this sort of into a pseudo playlist in June. So we're kind of trying to figure out where we're going to go with all that.
We'll work out something.
We'll work out something because I really enjoy the music, and the feedback we've got from our international audience is pretty good.
Well, quite a few people have said it's far better than the spoken bit.
No, they haven't.
Right.
No, they haven't. Anyway, on technical advancements, what did you think? Oh, no, not that. Hang on. What did you think?
The crack is back.
What did you think of the jingle?
I think if you could actually, they're the biggest 8 buttons you can have in the world. If you could actually just hit the right one, randomly, a fucking chimpanzee once in a while will hit the right one.
No, you don't want that one. But
Anyway,
it takes-
yes, I like the new
But hang
jingle.
on, I got another one as well.
Boom crack is blooming great.
Is that you? But presumably modified down loads.
It might be.
Have we
Might
got
be as
Mr.
well.
Mizu? Because I like Mr.
Mr.
Mizu.
Mr. Meeseeks you're talking about.
No, but the our Japanese
no,
whiskey man. Have
I've
you
sort
taken
of-
him off?
No, but I can put him back on.
I just like him. He's a new favourite.
I can't remember what it
Mr. Meeseeks, look at me. Right. Anyway, on a more serious note.
On a more serious note, you will recall that on the last occasion I raised the issue of Angela Rayner, the auburn-haired siren of the left, and her sort of tax woes, and it seems to have expanded its reach now into 3 areas. Firstly, that she and her then husband had bought their council houses. Nothing wrong with that. Good Tory policy that she was only too happy to take advantage of, and sold them, at a later date. But when she moved in with her husband, he extended the house to make it a family home, and she kept it and rented it out to her brother. Now, you cannot have 2 properties that are your primary residence. A married couple can't have 2 properties as primary residence for the purpose of capital gains tax. And they both claimed that they were primary residents. He when he sold his, and she when she sold hers. Okay, so someone has been telling porky pies. But not only that, it's gone further now. Apparently the witness statements have been taken from the neighbours, who said that on an occasion when a window at her house was broken by a child playing a football, that she described herself as the landlady to local residents. And also she was claiming single-person council tax discount, which you're not allowed to do on a rental property. Okay, and thirdly, and apparently the Labour Party have destroyed the documents that might prove this, that she gave an incorrect address when declaring herself as a parliamentary candidate, and not the address that she was actually living with her husband, but the address that other way around. Not the address that she claimed was her primary residence, but the address at which she was living with her husband. So that's 3 fairly serious allegations that the Labour Party have so far failed to deal with. Apart from David Lammy, and this is just classic. David Lammy says, well, lots of people live in 2 houses. I mean, now, if I quoted that at you as a defence to a Tory
you
doing
just have
something,
quoted at me, but go on.
No, but if I quoted that to you and saying, well, that was as a defence to something you were having a go at me about, that a Tory had done, you'd laugh your socks off. But for a Labour person to say, lots of people live in 2 houses, I mean, really, hypocrisy writ large, methinks.
Yeah, it's a fairly old trope, this sort of attack. It was done on Starmer, and you were just as outraged that Starmer was definitely proven to be having parties like Boris Johnson. It was shown, it was proven.
Deal with her. Deal with her. Deal with the allegations against her.
Or deal with what you're saying in my own way, as I gave you time. So you were just as
and just the same way that you were with the party.
You were just as outraged at Keir Starmer. You bought into what you'd been fed by the right-wing media.
What has that got to do with Angela Rayner?
And you will
I'm going to keep you on the point. Let's deal with Angela Rayner.
So you were just as outraged then, and it was all proven, and it was all obvious.
What does that have to do with Angela Rayner? Are you saying because it wasn't proven against Starmer that it won't be proven against her?
You'd find out what I was saying if you let me say it.
Go on then.
So you were just as outraged. You'd been fed the right-wing talking points. You took them. You were deadly serious. And here's where the differences are. Starmer said, if I've broken the law that he was quite rightly criticising Johnson for, I will resign.
Yeah.
Rayner has said, I am innocent of it. I've taken legal advice. May turn out to be right, may turn out to be wrong, but I've taken legal advice, and I am satisfied. And Keir Starmer has stood behind her and said that they've seen the same advice, or at least his team.
No, he said he hasn't seen it. He has said he hasn't seen it.
His team have seen it, and they say it's okay. Now,
no, they haven't.
Yes, they have. The team have, Mark.
And why hasn't he seen it? Why is he making a point of saying that he hasn't seen it? So he can distance himself.
So when it all goes tits up. I'm responding to you. So just as you're outraged then, and you made all this thing, Starmer said he would have resigned if anything criminal happened. By the way, after all your buff and buster, nothing.
Get to the point.
Nothing. That was the point. Nothing happened, Mark, because you say these things like they're clear-cut facts, and they're not. And
move on to the issue.
And that's my response to you. My response to you, typical right-wing argument, we'll go for her, we'll smear her, we will attack her.
Which is what the left does.
We will attack her. No, Mark, you're saying you're doing it. You're saying you're doing it, so you can hardly then complain that I'm saying you're doing it.
No.
So you attack with bluff and bluster. You say it's terrible. You say Starmer's a hypocrite. You say it's terrible. And then when the police come around and say there isn't anything there, you just but you don't know that, Mark. You want him prosecuted because that's what you
deal with Rayner. Get away from Starmer.
I have merely demonstrated that you're doing the same to her you did to Starmer.
So your argument is exactly the same.
And here's the integrity bit. She has said that if she is found to have done anything criminal, she'll resign. Now
she'd have to.
No.
Oh, really?
All right.
That's a very generous thing to say. If I'm found to have been a criminal, I'll resign.
So do
really,
you agree?
No shit,
so
Sherlock.
Do you agree that if she's done something that's criminal, she should resign? Do you agree?
I think she should be prosecuted and resign.
Do you think she should resign if she's found to have done anything criminal? I'm asking you the question.
I said yes. You know I said yes.
In which case, presumably, you also think that Boris Johnson should have resigned the moment he was found to have done something criminal on the COVID police inquiry, and he was found guilty of that. And Rishi Sunak should have resigned out of his post because he was also found to have criminally attended a party. Now, I'm just asking you, Mark, you've just pinned yourself down.
No, he wasn't.
He was.
No, he wasn't.
Rishi Sunak also
He was never prosecuted. Boris Johnson was never prosecuted.
They were both found guilty of... They were both found guilty of breaking COVID restrictions. The hypocrisy is they put them in place. Now, Mark, you just said you think she should resign.
I think she should resign.
So you must, unless you're just being partisan and not consistent, you must agree.
What do you think?
No, I'm asking you, my turn. So you must follow that you think Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak should have resigned. So do you?
No.
Right, good. I gotcha. Right, now I'll move on to the rest of it because I wanted to get you on that because it shows your hypocrisy.
No,
this isn't about justice.
They weren't convicted.
They were. They both received fines from the police for a criminal offence of breaking COVID regulations.
Well, then that's fair enough. Then I agree with you. They should have been prosecuted, and quite rightly so.
They paid the fines.
All right, yeah.
But they should have resigned. Is the point?
Absolutely, I get that. I get that. But you're saying that you should resign for every criminal because not even Parliament requires you to resign if you're but if you are convicted of an offence of fraud or a breach of election law, then you are required to resign.
Hang on. Well, you're certainly going to get punished by the committee or whatever, and I agree. The point I'm really trying to pull you back to is you're launching this as a partisan thing where we would probably agree is integrity in the system, and I agree with that.
Let me make my position clear.
Go on then.
Okay. The only reason I have even raised this is because of the stink the Labour Party raised over COVID. Do I think Angela Rayner really should be prosecuted as a result of this? No, I don't. I think it's the same way I don't think Boris Johnson should have been prosecuted for breaking the COVID rules. Okay, these are minor transgressions that are blown up totally out of proportion, and that one side or the other uses as a stick to beat people with the opposition with politically, and I think that's wrong. Okay, I think that's wrong. I don't think Boris Johnson should have resigned. No, but neither do I think Angela Rayner should. Neither do I think she should. These are a bit of a kick in, a bit of a and all that.
And
sort
I
of stuff.
agree.
And I think it's wrong. I think it's the Labour Party that started all this.
So isn't.
It's the Labour Party that started all this.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, but you're getting a dose taste of your own medicine this time.
So that was when
Okay,
they went
so
after
now
Keir,
let me
when they went after Keir Starmer with Partygate, which you were 100% behind. At that point, were you saying no, we shouldn't do it because whatever?
No, I'm saying that if they wanted to have a go at the Tory party, then it, what
How
sauce
about-
for the goose is sauce.
How
Now, hang
about-
on a minute. Let's just get the point. Let's just get the point.
Yeah.
So,
Right, go on.
if Angela Rayner,
Yes.
on your analysis, is found to have, made a false declaration on her candidacy, has evaded capital gains tax, or falsely claimed single person allowance on a rental property, what do you think she should do?
Well, I think it doesn't even matter, and I'll tell you why it doesn't matter. Because she has said, if she's found to have committed a criminal...
What do you think she should do? Do you think she's right to do that?
Mark, let me get it out.
No, I'm saying...
She has said, if she's found guilty of a criminal offence, she will resign.
And do you think she should?
Hold on. That is a matter of integrity. Keir Starmer said it when you went for him. She said it when you went for her. So all your... I've dug articles out of the Telegraph thing. Hang on. The police are investigating, and I want to talk about that for a minute. Before we get off the subject, I want to talk about that. But right now, what I'm saying is you've got the Labour Party, top of the Labour Party, who I think are just being smeared and attacked. but their response in both cases is if they're found to commit a criminal offence, they resign. What I want to highlight,
Boris Johnson
what
do?
I want to absolutely
Listen,
didn't
I'm
resign.
no fan of Boris Johnson.
No, but Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson.
I'm no fan of any of them.
Almost every one of the ministers not one of them
No, but
ever
what do you
said
expect
we
from
will
a
resign.
Tory? And no, they shouldn't do. I mean, come on. At least we're honest about what we are.
No, come on,
But
Mark.
you lot pretend to be holier than bloody thou. At in the meantime, you're the utter hypocrite.
So you don't think the law applies to them?
No, I think we are. You expect us to obfuscate and try and wriggle out of it, and we will do.
And you wonder
But
why you have a reputation as the party of sleaze.
But you lot, you hold yourselves up as holier than thou. And then you're found to be just as bad as everybody else.
Except
now,
both of them have said they resign.
Let me just
that is a
answer the
matter
question.
of integrity.
And do you,
but can I move
no,
it on slightly?
I posed a question and you haven't answered it.
I have answered it.
No, you haven't. You
I said the difference is they've got integrity and they've said they resign in both times if they were convicted.
You have said, okay, that she has said, but what do you think? Do you think she's right to do that, or do you think she shouldn't say that she's going to resign?
No, okay. I think if she's found to have done criminal behaviour, in other words, deliberately, fraudulently, you're throwing these words around. I think she should resign.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that's right. And the point is, we on the left generally are holding the Labour Party to that kind of standard. Whilst I think you're largely joking, but I'm not sure, you're sort of saying, well, you've got to bake it into the fact Tories are dishonest and haven't got integrity, or at least this government hasn't. Like you just said, I'm no fan of Johnson, although I still think you've changed your tune, because I seem to remember arguments where you were absolutely behind Johnson, but maybe I'm wrong. So anyway, but I just want to broaden this out as well, and I think I have dealt with that. I want to broaden it out. It's interesting how this attack has come. Let's not use smear. Let's just say an attack. It's interesting that the MP that's done it is the same MP, literally the same MP who created the whole story on Starmer, and it got absolutely no way. And then you've got, what do you think of this? Let me almost ask you a side question, but I want to know, like you asked me what I think of it. Let me do the same to you. So James Daly, he's the Tory MP. He's made a big name in this he approached the Great Manchester Police and got them to reopen the investigation. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, in a context where almost anything where it's suggested that someone hasn't paid the tax they should have done, they've claimed when they shouldn't have claimed, maybe they've claimed on 2 houses or whatever, things that they shouldn't have claimed for. Almost every investigation, in fact, I haven't heard of another one, is instituted by the HMRC, by the tax authorities who investigate whether the tax is right, whether there's tax owing, ultimately whether there's been fraud. They're the investigating unit. What do you think of the position where a Tory MP has gone to the Great Manchester Police openly? He said he did it, And on the basis of that, the police have reopened an investigation. Doesn't not worry you a bit that is directly a politician going to the police, and is that the basis of them starting police investigations now, whereas the HMRC would be the natural forum for any other citizen? What's your feeling about an MP doing that?
Well, I think I made myself clear when I said my feeling about all these things is that, unless you're essentially corrupt, i.e. taking bribes and so on and so forth, there's lots of little things people do, that really shouldn't be for a quality, sensible politician. Should not be resigning matters. Slap on the wrist, a bit of a fine, pay the tax you owe, and so on and so forth, but get on with it. And I think what a product of the weaponization of the law in politics is that we get the most bland, anodyne, and incompetent politicians that we could possibly wish for. Because anybody that's ever done anything or made a mistake ain't going to take the chance and step up and try and do the, if you look at like Harold Wilson, for instance, if you look at Winston Churchill, if you look at Enoch Powell, if you look at, Lloyd George, for instance, my goodness me. These are people with talent. Often comes capriciousness, and with capriciousness comes trouble. And it's a well recognized psychological thing.
Leadership.
Thing. And kids growing up, the ones that turn out to be the most intelligent and capable and so on, are the ones that get themselves into trouble. The ones that never get themselves into the trouble are the most unimaginative and useless. But what we are doing by this is we are creating a climate where we do not allow the Lloyd Georges, the Winston Churchills and so on to come forward and so on, because there's always some baying crowd from one side or the other trying to tear them down, and that's not what politics should be about. Politics should be about what you do, and if you're not corrupt, if you're taking money to try and influence things and so on and so forth, we all know where the line is. But I'm sorry, Partygate. Keir Starmer, I wouldn't have even thought twice about Keir Starmer's little curry party afterwards if it were not for the fact that they were a baying pack of the left after Boris Johnson. I said, fuck it, no, what the hell, no. And let me say,
I was listening,
I think
Mark,
Keir Starmer is a capable politician who I think has integrity. I don't think, I think he's pretty much unimpeachable in terms of his integrity and so on and so forth. And Angela Rayner is a woman that's come up from a very difficult background, lived as a single mother, worked, in a factory, became a shop steward and so on and so forth. And I think more power to her, and I think she's the kind of person.
I'm beginning to get your point.
She's the kind of person
we should have.
We should have. We should have the Angela Rayners, but we should also have the Boris Johnsons.
But can I make a
let me
distinction?
just finish my point. But let me just finish my point first of all. And we should not be hounding them out of Parliament because they've made a minor transgression. Get it out there. Let everybody make the decision. The
political decision.
The tribunal that should make the decision about what they've done is the electorate at the next election.
Right, and largely I'd agree with you. I mean that's largely I'd agree with you. I think, however, as simply as citizens, if someone breaks the law, the police, independent of the political consequence of it, should investigate. We should have people who don't break the law.
We should know what happened.
I don't know, and then maybe you can let me know if you do, because I honestly don't know whether the committee on whatever the committee. There's a particular committee on public standards, parliamentary standards. Whether they do have a remit, and I think they do, where there are minor indiscretions that don't result in automatic suspension or anything like that. But they do produce a report, and that therefore has a political bombshell, like you're saying. The people get to see it, and then the people can make a decision, unless what they've done is serious enough. And I'm not sure whether any criminal activity. I'd probably think it doesn't. My guess would be on the pragmatism we do actually have baked into the system, that they choose their sanction, because the main sanction, isn't it, is to
Well,
there's
lose the
losing
parliamentary
the party whip,
Party
which is
whip.
a party matter. It's not a parliamentary standards matter. It's a matter for the Tories and a matter for Labour. But I think on the parliamentary one, there's the suspension, and if it's suspension over a certain period, like more than 30 days, it triggers a by-election and so on. Yeah. So I think there is that element of, so for instance, if you suspend someone for 7 days because they did do something wrong, but you take the view they shouldn't be hounded out, that seems to address that.
But
I'd agree with you on that.
But what happens is then there is the hounding in the press that forces people to resign, which is outside of that system.
Except most people who haven't done anything too serious weather it. I mean, Angela Rayner is weathering it now. Now, if she's found to have committed a criminal offence, she said she resigned, so that would force her out. But anything short of that, she is in fact weathering the storm.
And I think
as Keir Starmer did.
I think the Tory party's mistake, I think that the mistake so far as Boris Johnson was concerned, is that he had too many enemies within his own party, and he'd have been able to sit back and weather this.
Do you not see
if the Tory party, i.e. the Rishi Sunak lot, hadn't essentially forced him out,
and the Truss lot?
And it would have passed. It would have passed.
Do you not think? Do you not see the difference between what Johnson did and what's being said either about Rayner, but slightly different?
No, I don't really.
You don't see a difference.
I think in either of those.
Well, can
cases,
I just say it in a sentence and then see with you? The person who made the laws that restricted everybody else's freedom pretty openly dismissed the very laws he'd made, and Rishi Sunak was part of it. And don't you think politically, because it was his own party that eventually jettisoned him, but don't you see that politically the people won't have that? They won't have that kind of hypocrisy thrown in their face.
The opportunity for them to not have it is the next election.
Except we have the system involves political pressure as well.
I get it, but I don't think there was anybody cynically saying to themselves there, and I've worked for the Tory party myself in my youth, and been to a good many Tory parties,
raves, work meetings,
including at number 10. Yeah, I know, but the thing is, though, they're facing a crisis. They're all working together in the same environment. They're not, it's not like a group of outside people coming in and they go and have a few drinks and all that. No, but that's, I'm saying, right or wrong, that's how they will have perceived it. And what they didn't really think about is how it would be perceived outside. And that's all I'm going to say.
And I just want.
And I think hang on, I'm not finished what I was saying.
Okay.
And I think if Boris Johnson had hung on in there, or been able to hang on, no, he wasn't. Well,
the Tories supported him. The Tories supported him. The Tories did support him through all of this. It's only when it became impossible to keep supporting him.
What about?
But the one I just want to say, just to give I just want to give the reason you don't seem to see the difference, and I find it difficult. At the time he was doing it, this is what the public, the public will only take so much. At the time he was doing it, people weren't being able to see their loved ones die. And I think that was the anger that was visceral.
And my view on that is the government were totally wrong to lock down. It was completely and utter. And
that's a different argument.
No, let me say, but it informs where I'm coming from on this. And I'm sorry, the nation behaved like a bunch of sheep.
When the Tory ministers, hang on, you've done it. When the Tory ministers were going into Parliament, when the Tory ministers were going into Parliament and going out on this without masks, infecting each other, infecting everyone else in Parliament,
masks aren't going to stop you getting infected or infecting anybody else.
When they were doing that, you are ignoring all the A&E departments that were flooded with people dying, people's mothers, people's brothers, family members. They were dying, Mark. And you because you didn't have your son or your father or someone like that dying without you being able to see them, your attitude is essentially fuck them.
No, what we did by locking down is we hamstrung ourselves from protecting the people who were vulnerable by imposing this lockdown.
Could have done that as well.
No.
Unless Rishi
no.
Sunak hadn't sent everyone back to the hospitals.
Yeah, bullshit.
Hadn't put all the old people out of the
What
hospitals
about all the
into the
excess
old
deaths?
folks' homes and killed them all.
Why are more people now dying?
Little book of facts. Let's do that another day. I'll happily debate with you. And by the way, if it's true, it's really interesting.
I can't remember
but that's moved away from what we were
Even
talking
the World
about.
Health
Mark.
Organization have now said lockdowns were wrong.
Right? No, I don't believe that. But Mark, happily, let's bring that back in. We've moved away from the Angela
let me
Rayner
just make my
thing.
point on that.
Go back
clear.
to Angela Rayner.
Lockdown was wrong,
Okay.
and we will be paying for it. You know, the sick and the vulnerable will listen, it was a pandemic.
Mark.
People are going to die. Okay, the people who are going to die are going to be the weak and the vulnerable. Our resources were better targeted protecting them, not the school children, not the healthy people, because what we've done is a massive amount of harm to them economically and psychologically, which need not have been done if we'd have protected the people who very quickly after lockdown started we knew were vulnerable. Why schools? Why schools? Why shut schools?
Mark, wait. Because you obviously know far better than the Cobra meeting, the scientific boards that advised the Cobra meeting, who told Johnson, when he finally took it seriously, which he didn't for ages and ages. Wait, Mark. Right? Johnson finally took it seriously. You know why? Because eventually these committees came to Cobra and said, if you don't do something, there'll be a 500,000 or 1 million dead.
And they were wrong.
Because of lockdown.
They were wrong.
Says you.
Yes, says me.
Because you know more than all the scientists that advise Cobra.
They know they were wrong.
Sorry, Mark. Honestly, it's right.
They know they were wrong.
Anyway,
right.
Mark versus all science. Right.
Listen.
Again.
Yeah. It won't happen again. You watch.
Let's go.
Anyway,
Let's
I'm
go.
sorry. The majority of the nation turned out to be complete and utter sheep, I'm afraid, and there's very little independent thinking going on. And
by the way, the
everybody's-
majority of the nation are the ones who are going to kick your lot's sorry ass out.
Yeah, they will
in
do.
about 6
and
months.
I'm sorry, this conservative
should.
government needs to be kicked out.
Good.
And what we
Actually, out of interest, why? You give me your argument. Why? I know mine.
Listen, it's a lost government. It doesn't know what it's doing. It's tired. We've got nobody of any quality there. We need a period in opposition to bring some decent people through. Okay. And I'm sorry, the nation, if it chooses a Labour government next time, is going to pay for its.
When they went for
sorely.
Tony Blair, they had three Labour governments. So
listen,
it didn't go wrong. Hang on.
I'm
You'd have
sorry.
been saying this before the first one.
No, I was a fan of Tony Blair.
So was I.
I was a fan
So
of
am
Tony
I.
Blair. I thought Tony Blair was a proper centrist.
Would you agree Keir Starmer is a proper centrist?
I think Keir Starmer is, but I'm sorry, I don't think Keir Starmer has the hold over his party that Tony Blair did. And
I think it's very incredibly similar. Because, for instance,
Listen, I
hang on,
like
Tony
Keir
Blair.
Starmer.
Tony Blair didn't get rid of the left in the Labour Party, but no question, the centrists had control. I think
like
it's exactly
Keir
where we
Starmer.
are now.
I think he's an honourable man with integrity, and I think his intentions are good. I don't think he has the leadership qualities though, and the strength to rein in the left.
We'll have that as a separate discussion, but it's interesting.
And I'm sorry, like I say, Tories. Listen, if Keir Starmer was a Tory, I'd probably.
Can we just go on that for a minute rather than move off? Because I was feeling we'd finish because we finished Angela Rayner, but I think we're onto something interesting. So I just want to run with it a little bit. This government, this particular Tory government, what I was thinking about just this week, and I think you've just slightly alluded to it when you say tired and whatever. What I sat there and thought, because I wanted to, I mentioned to you, I might go up the sort of nasty party thing, which was one of the Tory ministers said this 18 months ago. Why we shouldn't keep ourselves being the nasty party. So that was just in my head. But I wanted to ask you something slightly different. I don't hear, maybe you can tell me if I've missed it, I don't hear what this government, Tories now, not just the government, but Tories now, stand for. And I know what they used to stand for.
I agree with you.
That's what I'm saying. I know what they used to stand for. We'd have had a political argument, wouldn't we, about
agree with you.
taking the brakes off, setting people free. This is how we're going to improve
Like
people's
Liz Truss said.
Well, no, but I'm sort of serious about it. It's like the political debate used to be, didn't it? Tories would sit there and go, this is how to make people live a better life and have a better life. And the Labour would say, you're wrong. This is how to give them a better life, right? And that was the political argument and discussion. I can't even remember the last time we had a serious economic discussion between the left and the right. Now it seems to be the right say we should stamp culture wars. We should stamp down on this, and this. And the left are going, no, you shouldn't.
All the argument centers around frippery. You know,
where's the real stuff?
Where's the real stuff? But what I'd like you to do, is tell me, okay, so I can check it. What the Labour Party's policies are.
I think the Labour Party's got a much clearer view. But
I'd like you to
would
tell
you like
me.
me to answer
You're
it?
a member of the
But
Labour
would you
Party.
like
I'd
me
like
to-
you
would
to
you
tell
like
me,
me
and
to
I'm going to
answer?
write them down,
Yeah, no.
and you can tell
But
me.
I'll still answer it my way.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
The first thing is that the Labour Party is in opposition trying to get into power. That's an absolute truth.
Yeah, and their policies to get into power are...
Hang on. And because of that, right, they can't go hostage to fortune. It's just...
So there aren't any.
I'm about to say...
What are the policies that they're going to put before, the country in the election? I want to know, because,
I think it's fair. We're not there yet. No, the Tories haven't produced their manifesto, Labour hasn't. But what I believe they're going to do is go for a direction for the country which is economically fairer. So what they're going to do, I believe...
What does that mean?
I'm getting there. I believe what they're going to do is turn to the people and say, we will tax the rich more, and especially the super rich more. We will try and make sure that the structure of wealth in this country that at the moment is creating billionaires and soon is going to start creating trillionaires, whilst other people, a vast majority of the citizens of this country...
I'm writing this down as a Tory.
All right. So basically, income equality. They're going to move towards a fairer system that is going to reduce the super rich, but therefore
who are going to move abroad. Then
hold on. You didn't want to do the full argument. You just wanted to know what I believe they're going to move to. So reduce the super rich and tax them more heavily. In return for which, the people in loads of parts of this country where they have no hope, no investment...
I didn't actually ask you what you thought they were going to do. No, that wasn't the question. The question was, what policies have the Labour Party put forward?
Hang on, legit. I'll come back with mine, you come back with yours, and we'll do that next week.
Listen,
in terms of policies,
I think the Tory party this time around are a lost cause. So I don't give a shit what the Tory party's policies are.
So you're going to vote Labour?
No.
Why not? But why not?
Because I can't bring myself to.
Why not?
No, I'm still going to vote for Tory.
Right, hang on. We'll do that next week. I will go and research actual policies.
Well, let me just tell you some things that the Tory party have pledged to do. Okay, they've finally got the Rwanda bill through.
But that's
hang on a minute.
But that's
no, it's not culture war.
It is.
No, it's not. Immigration is not culture war.
Do you believe for 1 second, that the population of this country care about individual immigrants, a particular immigrant, enough to pay 1.8 million
That's not the cost.
I knew you'd say that.
No,
No. I know that. Do you know where I got that figure from? Go on, guess. Just guess where I got the figure from. 1.8 million per immigrant who goes to Rwanda. Where'd I get it from? That's why I threw it at that. I got it from the Office of Budgetary Responsibility.
Which is not a government.
Of course it is.
No, it's civil service.
It's the government.
Which is riddled with the left.
Fuck off.
No,
bullshit.
Bullshit.
Hang on. I didn't make it up from some left-wing think tank.
What you're doing.
I didn't make it up from a paper. It's from the government.
No, it's not from the government.
Well, the civil servant is the government until you lot started culture wars against them. So 1.8
you can shout
million.
as much as you like.
Okay, only to get it across.
That's
I'll do
not
it quietly
what it's
then.
gonna
I'll do
cost.
it quietly. The Office for Budgetary Responsibility has stated
It's civil service.
That is the government, Mark. The civil service enacts what the government say,
the
but
civil
have an
service.
independent
Okay,
obligation
all right,
to
let's
actually
move on.
cost it
Too much of this.
1.8
Too much
million
of this.
per immigrant. And
No.
you say that's a real policy. Bullshit. It's culture war.
No, it's not culture war.
It is.
All right. Are you saying that immigration is culture war?
I'm saying 1.8 million per person
Why is that
is
culture war?
bullshit.
That's your That's your
Because
culture
it
war.
means there's no intention of actually solving the problem. They just want to throw red meat to the few Tories who go, "Oh, it's immigration. It must be terrible."
I gave credit to the BBC this evening for an interview in France with. And the article was covering some, the death of some, boat people, and interviewing,
Including a child, by the way. Just,
no, absolutely. Well, like I say,
I want to stop the boats. You want to stop the
I want to
boats.
stop the boats. Yeah, absolutely. An interview with two prospective immigrants. One of which said, when the question was put to, the government's passed a bill to send you back to Rwanda, and he says, well. I might change my mind about this. And the second one said, okay, well, if I can go and work and study in Rwanda, then I'll do that. Duh. Can I just remind you also that I think it was about 18 months ago, the big issue was the number of Albanian migrants that were coming over. Okay. And the day the Albanian government agreed to take migrants back, Albanian migration stopped dead.
So in the spirit of making notes, just make a note on that one, and we'll come back to it next week because I want to see if it's true. It's true. Yeah, anyway, interesting. Let's play some music.
Let's play some music. Okay. So, in the spirit of what we've been doing, I think something not too soothing yet. Mm-hmm. This is another group. When I think I mentioned that my son and my stepson had gone to a heavy metal concert. What was it? Polaris. Anyway, so a playlist came out with a number of heavy.
You've become a real metalhead. Honestly, it's
anyway,
like really weird.
This is...
If you saw how much hair he's got, you would be gobsmacked that metal is his preferred genre.
This is Sleep Token and The Summoning. Well, there we go.
I can't believe you've become a metalhead. It's very weird.
Boomcrack is blooming great.
It's blooming great, mate.
From the heart of Birmingham, which was the heart of metal.
From the heart of Birmingham.
The heart of metal.
Brought to you from the heart of Birmingham, Brumcrack.
Boomcrack is blooming great.
It's blooming great. We love Birmingham.
We do.
We do. Good. So,
Sure we do. Sure we do.
We do, to be sure.
I'm saying my normal quality of accents. Sure we do.
What? That's the only accent you can do.
That was appalling. Even I know that. Right.
I do have a little point, if it comes up later, to make with regard to verbal intelligence, but we'll see if that comes up. I have a clip somewhere. Anyway, so John, I think there was something you wanted to raise on a news item.
Yeah. So again, people who may be just tuning in for the first time or haven't really joined in before. Apart from anything else, with myself and Mark, is we're both barristers, ex-barristers. I was a criminal barrister. Mark is a civil barrister.
I'm very civil. You're very criminal.
By the way, this is the point where most of our audience, as I'm sure you remember, know that the warm-up wine has done its job.
Yes.
Anyway, no, what this was, so we're always quite interested in legal stories, especially if they're really important ones and whatever. There has been a number of moves, in particular in relation to these climate change protests, which have pushed the boundaries of the law. So there have been defences raised, which basically means I've done criminal damage, but I have to, because the danger of the climate change is so serious and everyone will die. That
the defense was that they believed...
No, I'm doing the first one.
Okay.
The original defense was, in essence, there is a legal defense called necessity. And what it basically says is you admit you did the thing and you say, but I had to do it to save life, to whatever.
Breaking a car window to rescue a hot dog.
Or to rescue... I was going to say a baby, but...
No.
You can't do it. You can't do it to save a burger. Right? You just can't, Mark.
A hot dog isn't a burger. But you know what I mean. Yes, a
Save
child
dog,
or a
right?
dog.
Anyway, so it's called necessity, and it's having defended for quite a few years. It is a defense. It's an absolutely legal defense.
I needed to sell those drugs because I couldn't feed my family.
It's more because someone actually had my child with a gun to my child's head would be how it's done. But it's a very, very weak defense. It's very hard to win because the prosecution, of course, say, well, you would say that, wouldn't you? So, it's a difficult one.
Prosecution.
No, absolutely fine. But it does exist in English law. And that was removed by the courts. And they basically said... in terms of climate change, it's so far removed from the individual instance.
Yeah.
So, you're not breaking a window to get a child out. You're not
proximity.
You're not trying to save a member of the family who will be shot otherwise, which is instant and immediate and unavoidable. It's not proximate enough. Yeah. So that defense has been removed. Then the next one was, you are allowed to damage someone's property if you had the reasonable belief that they would let you damage their property. And the classic one almost is the car window. The owner's away, you smash the car window, you get the child out, and they don't come back and go, you shouldn't have done that, you broke my window. And you only have to have a reasonable belief on that. So even if they don't come back and say that, any jury would go, but it was reasonable to believe that, and therefore you got it. And the courts have actually very recently just removed that defence. So these are novel defences.
Yeah.
Any defence barrister would know that they were running unusual and novel defences, but juries were acquitting people, right? And the government really, really didn't like that, and openly didn't like that, and the Attorney General has brought cases to try and stop it. So far that's background. What then happened, which is very recent? There is a law going back, I think it's the 1600s. In my usual way, I made
the law,
God
God bless it,
called jury equity, and I think it was 1600. Sorry, I did make a note of it, and as is my way, I've lost the note. But jury equity, and what it says, and it's a very unusual thing it says, and it says, and here's the really weird one: in the Old Bailey, that bastion of, history of the law, there is a plaque bedded into the wall of the Old Bailey, and it says, I can't remember its words, but essentially it says that a jury can come to a conclusion themselves despite a judge's orders to follow the law.
Well, it's a direction. It's not an order, isn't it?
It's a direction. Here you go. I'm sorry, I got it. So the sign is a
referee.
reference.
A judge can only direct a jury to acquit.
But it can give directions about how they should approach a case. And they should, and the judge would definitely say must, follow their directions of law.
But not to convict.
No, they can't direct a conviction, but they can direct and say the jury must follow it. No, must follow their interpretation of the law. If they say this is the law, the jury are told they must follow that direction, right? But what there is, and it's just one of those little quirks of English law, and rather a nice quirk in some ways, maybe even hard fought. I have found it. So the reference that we're about to talk about is to a 1670 landmark case. So think back to then. I mean, really weird. Which cemented the independence of juries. So that's the whole point, that you have the judge has a role, the prosecutors have a role, everyone in the system has a role, but juries have a role, and the role is that they're independent.
Yes.
And it was known as the Bushels case, in which a jury refused to find defendants guilty despite having been repeatedly instructed to do so by the judge. Now, one of the other things, because I have read this before, is what the judge did is they came back with not guilty. I believe he locked them up. He locked the jury up and said, I'll see you in the morning when you come back with the correct verdict.
Yeah.
They came back and went not guilty, and he locked them up again, and it carried on like this. until finally it got to wherever, and I'm guessing House of Lords at the time, which said the juries are independent. The jury ultimately must do it, no matter what your direction.
Right.
Now, what happened as part of this background is that a lady called Trudy Warner. So what I do like about this as well is it's a very ordinary person. It's not a corporation. It's not an activist group. She and others stood outside a court with a sign, and what her sign said was, "Jurors, you have an absolute right to acquit a defendant according to your conscience." And obviously, this was in the context of a case that was going on in that court, which was to do with climate change.
Yeah.
And so she did that, and basically the most senior law officer in the country, so it's here, the Solicitor General, represented by Aidan Ardley, KC, so the barrister, told the court a prosecution was needed to maintain public confidence in the independence of the jury system, and that if Warner went unpunished, similar acts were likely to propagate. And that he claimed that she had confronted jurors outside the court and her actions were an interference with the administration of justice, which is pretty much, I guess, what she was brought on was perverting the course of justice. I'm guessing it was that. But what's interesting is the news is, because this is news. Well, that's the argument.
You'd have to show that there was a perversion.
Possibly.
The charge is not perverted. You can only make out correct me if I'm wrong. You can only make a charge of perverting the course of justice if you can prove that something done has influenced the outcome. Attempting to is the same charge, same penalty. If I recall.
Yeah, I think it may have come under contempt of court. Actually, I think which is technical, but it means there isn't a statute. There's the courts have built up their own history of punishing people who do contempt of court, and you're trying to prevent the court working properly, and that's what was brought. But what's interesting on this one is, so the most senior government law officer brought the case. Someone like me would see it as a consistent trail of the government restricting protest, limiting protest, just doing anything to stop criticism and protest is one view. And what the judge so what the news is it's being kicked out, and she had to stand alone. She was the only one prosecuted. Part of the protest is that I think 100 people, or a sizable number, all who may have faced arrest, did exactly the same protest last week in many courts around the country. And I've got to say, as a barrister, I was very tempted to join, because I just believe there is a principle here, which is I don't want to see that last protection. If the law goes wrong, there's just this last bit where 12 people who go, no, the law's wrong, just wrong.
Well, not just that the law is wrong, but that in the individual case, we just, despite the fact the law may actually, it may be the law is right. In this case, it doesn't fit.
It would be injustice.
It would be unjust.
To make 12 people ignore all the directions has to be something pretty serious.
The unspoken fact is that juries have always acquitted people who are guilty because for one reason or another they don't want to convict them.
Yes, and that's unusual. Most people want to convict the guilty, but it gives that safety valve, doesn't it?
It gives a safety valve, and I remember in my early days when I did crime up most often in Stoke-on-Trent, for which it was a sort of fairly busy market up there. Stoke juries were notorious for not convicting anybody of anything.
Why do you think that was, Mark? why don't? Because we haven't actually got any listeners in Stoke, according to our metric.
I don't know.
So, would you care to illuminate why you think Stoke juries always acquitted criminals, Mark?
I'm not making any point here, but.
Are they related to each other?
But that is and juries, whereas a judge in a civil case has to give reasons for a decision, a jury doesn't have to. Juries don't have to give reasons, for acquitting or convicting. They're quite capable. They make the decision, and nobody expects them to rationalise it afterwards.
So what the judge said because it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
It's quite short. He said in his ruling that Warner had made no attempt to compel those going to court. And as lawyers, we always latch on words, don't we? Does that mean if this decision stands, which it probably will, it's High Court, does that mean compel is the test? I mean, I don't know. You and I know that any lawyer listens for certain words, and if they hear one, they trigger on it because they go, that's a test. That's now a test.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure it ever has been, so I'm not entirely sure. He's not making new law
Sure.
in common law terms. So anyway, made no attempt to compel. Quote, what is striking to me is how little Ms. Warner tries to engage with people to get their attention or persuade them of anything.
Yeah.
She was, in essence, a human billboard.
Yeah.
But what that must allow, mustn't it, if you think about it, is it absolutely legitimizes someone standing outside the court building with a placard saying what her said. That must be the law now, unless it's ever overruled. And certainly allows you to put a billboard up by definition.
I don't think any jury needs to be reminded that it, at the end of the day, having been given an appropriate direction, that really it can do pretty much whatever it feels is right.
I want to say I disagree with you. I think almost every, and I was in front of juries for 12 and a half years. I don't think almost any jury, unless it was absolutely unconscionable, would ever believe they could go against the judge. People have sworn to fulfill their jury oath. They respect that the judge knows the law. They're told the judge knows law, and they must follow directions of law. The system is designed for the jury to follow what they're told in terms of the law.
Of course it is.
And then equally, they're told matters of fact are for them. But if you find as a fact they have done criminal damage, and there's almost never a disagreement about that, the law is clear, and they're being told they can ignore it.
Juries will, they
have done.
But
what she's doing with that plaque is reminding people who wouldn't know, unless you've seen this plaque in the middle of the Old Bailey, you're not going to know. So I personally
it's probably a singularly ineffective way of actually doing what she was intending to do. And I would not think for one moment that any juror who was not confident about their position would look at that sign and think, oh, I can do that, as opposed to everything that they've been told in court.
Except on something like climate change, where people bring their perspective.
Well, that's a different matter.
Well, no, but they might bring that and go.
That's a different matter.
One thing that's interesting. One thing I want to say about it though is that in our comments section, either on Spotify or on YouTube, or indeed our WhatsApp group, it'd be very interesting if people. I would like to know if anybody listening to this knew before that they had the right, because we can all get called up for jury service. Yeah. No, I'm just saying I'd like to know if people knew before that they did in fact have this right, because I personally think the publicity on this has let far more people know.
I agree. Well, there's two questions there. Firstly, did anybody know that they had the right to do that? And the second question is, in a case where, notwithstanding the law, that they, if they were directed that the law was, leading them to a conviction, but they did not feel on the basis of their own conscience that they could convict, whether they'd be willing to still find them not guilty. So that's two different questions. There's a difference between having the right, because you're told as a jury you don't have to give reasons for your decision, so you can just say no, and you can be one of the very few that it takes. To create a hung jury, in which cases,
or the majority in some cases.
Absolutely. So I think that's too.
Can I ask you a question again as a lawyer and see what your reaction is? It just comes off from this. Do you think it's right? Because the judges, I believe, following government pressure, are making it absolutely ruling that for instance, climate change people that tore Colson's statue down, they actually were acquitted. But, the equivalent, and believe me, separate issue of whether we're annoyed as hell by these people blocking roads and doing all stuff. That's a different discussion we can have. But do you, Mark, what do you think about the idea of the law as the judges are laying it down? that you can't say why you took the action you took. I find that very strange, having done courts, because motive, what the courts have said is because the motive isn't a defence, we can legitimately... So, for instance, they can't mention climate. They're not allowed to say, I did this because of climate change. And that just feels very wrong to me. It feels right that the legal direction should be, they may have done it for this reason, but that doesn't change the law.
Everybody knows what it is anyway.
Well.
But to the actus reus and the mens rea, i.e. the actual physical act of causing an obstruction and the reason you did it, the intention to do it, the motivation is irrelevant.
Well, criminal damage doesn't require mens rea.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Well,
what does it? Within limited areas.
No, it requires the intention to cause
do
damage.
the criminal damage. Yeah,
it doesn't require.
But not motive. No one's interested in motive.
Nobody's interested in the motive.
But do you feel it's right? I mean, almost on a feeling level, do you feel it's right to say you can't say what your motivation was?
I'd like to ask you a question on this one, and it leads into a topic that we were going to explore later. And that's this. What do you think the reaction would be to a man holding a similar sign up outside a rape trial?
So just expand a bit more.
Well, give
me the picture.
If you've got, a controversial rape trial where there's been an allegation of rape against a young man who categorically denies it, and you've got, maybe his father or his cousin or somebody out there saying, a sign saying you have the absolute right to acquit whatever the evidence is. What do you think the reaction would be to that?
Are you saying it, and legitimate point, and that's why law is interesting, right? Are you saying it in the context where, for instance, the evidence is overwhelming, and therefore the father's saying it as a get-out?
I'm saying where the evidence is contested.
I think for as long as it's the law that a jury can make a decision on their conscience, which is the established law, it can change. It only needs a Supreme Court to say that's no longer the law anymore, or it's restricted in some way. I'm not asking. No, I'm asking. I'm trying to answer your question. I think for as long as that is the law, it's very hard for me to understand how it can be a contempt of court to accurately tell people what the law is. It's very hard to understand how that can be a contempt. If you're correct, if you're stating the law correctly, how can that be a contempt of law?
So you as a lawyer...
I may not like it. Don't get me wrong.
Well, do you like it any less than you like it that it was okay to acquit the person who held the sign up outside the trial of someone for obstruction on a climate protest?
Honestly, I get your point, and I'm not giving an easy answer. One of the things that's interesting about the law, which I think we both like, is that, we always say, isn't it, was it bad cases make bad law?
Yeah, hard cases make bad law.
Hard cases make bad law. So I think, especially with this judgment that's literally just come out, I think it was today or yesterday, today's news, so it must have come out yesterday. Is it starts that debate. Because I find this quite a strange law. It's from 1640, it's never been repealed. But it wouldn't be illogical for the law to be changed by the Supreme Court and go, no, you cannot just make a law upon your conscience.
But you can't make the law...
change it. You can't... It isn't unreasonable to turn around to a jury and say, no, you can't do that. You can't just ignore the directions and ignore the law because of your conscience. I mean, it is a reasonable thing to do. What's attractive about that is the idea that it's almost never happens. It would have to be something so bad that the jury create justice from what... you know what I mean?
I'm asking you more as a matter of... You're trying to descend to the particulars of a case here.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying you've got a contested case of rape, and someone comes outside and says to a jury, you have an absolute right to acquit.
Based on your conscience. Personally, I think it'd be okay because this law has never really been an issue because it's so rare.
I would expect that answer from you because, you're a lawyer. Now, what do you think the reaction of feminist groups would be? A lot of the left-wing press would be to those circumstances, where they're happy to support that, because the issue is climate change.
But they wouldn't be happy if it was a rape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think it would be hypocritical to condemn it in a rape trial and to support it in, an obstruction case in a climate
I get it.
protest?
The idea that you've linked rape to left
No, I'm
wing
not
is
lifting
a
it.
bit more
No,
questionable.
well,
No, it's a bit more
yeah.
questionable.
No,
Mark.
well, okay, all right,
I'm
all right,
highlighting
all right.
that you've done
Let's
it.
say
But hang on, I've highlighted you've done it. I do believe, I do believe in consistency of position, which is why I'm actually not entirely sure I'm completely. Although it's easy to go with that, and it fits in my libertarian. My libertarian attitude of ultimately, if it's bad enough, the people will rebel, and this law enshrines that you can. So I'm inclined to be positive to it, but I understand precisely because of these kind of things you're saying. That it is arguable, genuinely arguable. You could get rid of it as a matter of law. You can just take it out of the common law. The Supreme Court might look at it and go, no, okay, no, or qualify it or whatever. So I agree with the hypocrisy argument. I get that. But it just is interesting that you threw it straight to rape, like that's a left-wing thing.
Well, no, I don't say it's left.
No, but you did say the left. You did say left.
I say it because now
left activists.
Yeah, well, left so on. And my particular point was we have discussed this in the context of being a strength, and I agree with you. I agree that at the end of the day, you get the judge is a lawyer. There's lawyers. There's everybody on that side of the court has a vested interest
and a knowledge
and too much knowledge in many cases and
a respect. It's an institution.
No, I'd
the
say
law
a deference.
is
I'd say a deference. A deference
right.
rather than a respect.
I get that. It's an institution.
Yeah.
And we'd have to defer when we were lawyers.
The strength is
they're not.
12 ordinary people there who live through their own experience, and we hope will share the experience.
Anyway,
hang on, let me finish. Sorry,
I wasn't.
And we see that when we step back, even though we don't like the outcome,
we see it as a strength.
We see it as a strength. Yeah. Now, my point is that one of the criticisms is, and I say this as a husband. I've never had girls as daughters. If any woman that I knew or
wives
loved
and daughters
had been raped, I would be the first one wanting to cut off their goolies. Okay, but I'm also a father of boys
who you don't want wrongly accused,
and we don't want them wrongly accused. And what I
actually wrongly convicted. You can't stop wrongly accused.
You can't stop wrongly accused. What we don't want. We don't want someone
wrongly convicted.
Wrongly convicted. Okay, and my what I sort of the link I made was that we have arguments, and I've heard them on Woman's Hour and goodness knows where's, that we should have judge only tribunals in rape cases.
Right.
And I think that's fundamentally wrong.
There's a lot wrong.
Yeah,
there's a lot wrong on rape cases. From my point of view, legally. Except,
but let me just finish what I was going to say. What I was going to say, and I have known members of the criminal bar and so on and so forth, and I've we've chatted over cases and so on and so forth, and cases where some young man has been tried because he's gone out, he's met a girl on a night, and whatever the circumstances are, woken up in the morning, they've both been drunk and so on and so forth. They've had sex, and suddenly the girl regrets it, and he had no idea, and he's accused of rape, and then that whole thing happens. But the thing is, that happens a long time. Politically, those prosecutions are brought, and 9 times out of 10 they're acquitted, because juries can see through that. And now that is then put as evidence that juries are in some way skewed against.
Can I come
No,
in with
but
a?
let me just
I know, but
qualify this.
I've done many rape cases.
I know. Hang on, but let me just
Yeah.
say from point
Yeah,
of
go
view that I would never in a million years, and like I say, I'm a husband, and so on. I've members of my family that I love, and if anything ever happened to them, I'd be absolutely mortified, and I'd be the first one. Let me just say that. But like, if I'm a father as well, and what we all want is we want fairness.
But can I give a perspective? There's some misinformation about rape cases, right? I have my criticisms, and in fact we've even said we were going to one day talk about this. But from a legal point of view, we've just discussed this legal case. I think there is scope for talking about legal cases because we live under the law and we get swamped by American law in our media. And I think it's really important to tell people and remind people. I use the phrase common law, and it occurs to me that, I'm not sure many people know what the common law is, as opposed to statute law. And just to answer that, statute law is made by Parliament, very specific. This is against the law. There are always gaps. There are always things that haven't been resolved by a statute. And over hundreds and hundreds of years, courts that make decisions and end up at the Court of Appeal and now the Supreme Court, once the Court of Appeal and in particular the Supreme Court rule on a particular case, any cases that follow that aren't specifically answered by statute, any of the gaps, must follow the decisions of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. Yep. So it's an evolving way of developing law, and it works, I think, very, very well. It covers the gaps. But I just want to say on the misinformation thing, and I think it's not done deliberately, although maybe pressure groups are right. The conviction rate in rape at trial is pretty much the same as the conviction rate for every other offence. It runs at about 60 to 65%.
No, that's right.
At trial. So the idea that everyone gets off, the rapist always gets off.
I agree with you.
Or that everyone gets buried.
Yeah.
It's roughly the same proportion as almost every other trial at trial. The reason that almost no cases result in convictions, and that is a very serious issue, but it isn't solved by making the trial more unfair, is because very few of them get trial, because most of the time when you have the case you've said, and obviously you gave one perspective, which is he says this, which is not what she's saying, almost always those cases don't get to trial because they don't get through, the complainant withdraws it, or the complainant withdraws it, or the police see that it's so weak it shouldn't go forward, or the CPS have a test.
I agree with you.
And I'm only trying to give those things because most people think that rape trials everyone gets off.
No, that's right.
That's
right. But this is where my point about the left comes in, and in feminist groups and so on and so forth, is they misrepresent that. So what they do is they take the number of accusations that made as opposed to the amount of actual
convictions. And then it's
convictions.
like 1% or 2%.
Exactly. And
so
then
we must do something to the trial. So we must do something to the trial.
Good. Right. Well, I'm going to play a song now, and I've anybody watching on YouTube.
Hang on.
Hi. Will have seen me fiddling around my phone, and that's because
I'm boring.
A very good friend of mine was trying to contact me, whose wife Alice, and now John and Alice have been, sort of my most heartfelt and dearest friends for a substantial proportion of my life, and I don't know, I don't know where I'd have been without them as friends, during the very difficult time of my divorce, but also they're just lovely, lovely people. And Alice has just come out of hospital, having had her second hip replacement, she struggled a bit with the first one, but anyway, I'm going to wish her all the best. And Alice, darling, I absolutely love you. And I'm going to play a song now, which I believe is very dear to you. And it's the Beatles, A Day in the Life. Good. Anyway, Alice, I love you, darling. Get well soon. I'll give you a call. Well, I'll have by the time you hear this, I'll have spoken to you anyway. So, I'm just, I love you, and I'm going to come up and see you. Good. So,
update.
So, yes. Over to our post office correspondent, John. John, what's the latest on that post office inquiry?
I guess in some ways it's a law story again. We've done it. No, I think you're behind this one as much as I am. We both think we're outraged by this. So the very quick one, this Post Office Horizon scandal has scandalised both me and Mark over many weeks. We've probably done this one.
Scandalised.
We've done this for more episodes than I think any other story. Hundreds and hundreds of people's lives destroyed, people committing suicide, people in jail, which can happen, but not when the organisation that's prosecuting, which in this case is the Post Office. It's very rare that an organisation can do it, only the Post Office and the RSPCA can. And it really highlights that should never happen. The CPS, for all its faults, acts as a gatekeeper to what should and shouldn't happen, and certainly compared to what we're seeing here with the Post Office, does that job well because it's independent. In this case, a commercial company can bring its own prosecutions, and it has commercial motives to do so, and that's inherently corrupt. But anyway, that's what we've been doing over a number of weeks, and we've highlighted, as has the main media and stories, that effectively they knew other people could get into the system, they knew it could be changed, but they turned around and kept insisting that the system was completely safe, and therefore the Post Office postmasters had stolen the money, and that was the only possible explanation. And that's why juries convicted. It's why civil courts destroyed these people, because they believed that they'd stolen the money according to the Post Office. And what keeps coming out from the inquiry is that they knew it wasn't secure. So anyway, this week's news, and it is damning, and it's a drip feed of damning, is we've talked previously about there being meetings where they were advised by their independent investigator, and they didn't like the advice from the independent investigator because it basically said it wasn't robust, and so they got rid of them. Now, this story relates to that. So what has come to light, and I think if I can just... Yeah, it came up in ITV News, 11th of April. But what they've got hold of is tapes now, so it gets even better. They've come up with a tape of a conversation between Ron Warmington of Second Sight Investigators. So this is where, under pressure from MPs...
These were the independent auditors that the Post Office employed.
Yeah, and they brought them in because of pressure from MPs, because the scandal had grown and built. This is the company they then got rid of, so they kept it in-house where they could control the narrative. And it's a conversation between Ron Warmington, the Second Sight investigator, and Angela van der Borgen, who was the head of partnerships. In this context, partnerships obviously mean the relationship between the Post Office and the sub-postmasters that it's all about. And it's a conversation about one particular prosecution. And I'd like to play just a bit of the tape that directly is Ron Warmington, informing
verbal intelligence,
informing Angela van der Borgen about this particular case. Let me just play it.
We've obtained a recording of a meeting from January 2015 between Mrs. van den Borgen and the independent investigator tasked with looking into issues with Horizon, following the convictions of hundreds of sub-postmasters. In it, she raises a case from 2006.
Carl Page, shall we have a quick discussion on this?
I know the whole case intimately. I've studied it in minute detail. I think that Post Office got this wrong right up front. I think there was no theft of $282,000.
Father of three, Carl Page served 6 months in prison, convicted of stealing money through currency exchange at his post office in Staffordshire. The first trial collapsed. He pleaded not guilty at the second, but was eventually convinced to plead guilty for fear of a long prison sentence. Carl
Now, I'm just going to stop it there because
Yeah.
it goes on to him. But it couldn't be clearer, could it? What he just said to her. Now, the thing I want to do, just put it in context, and, we're not having a big discussion about this because you and I are as one on this, but I just want to give context. 2015, I've got the timeline of the Horizon scandal from The Independent. They've done a nice timeline. 2015 is that conversation. It couldn't be clearer by the independent investigator. So here's the timeline that was going on. 2015, Post Office boss Paula Vanellis tells the business tells the
Verbal
business
intelligence.
select committee that there is no evidence of miscarriages of justice. Right?
It's disgraceful. The woman should be in bloody prison.
And but it is interesting. The post office halts prosecutions of sub postmasters at that point, so it stops the prosecutions, right?
Yeah.
But that's what she's telling the committee, and I just want to pull it forward because I found the bit of here. You ready?
Yep.
2021, right? 6 years after this man was convicted, right? The Court of Appeal quashes 39 wrongful convictions. 6 years later.
Listen.
With the post office having had that from their independent investigators, which they then closed down to keep it in-house.
Listen,
a lot of them should go
Once
down.
this inquiry's finished, if that lot aren't bloody prosecuted and sent to prison, then we are not the civilized society we consider ourselves and would like ourselves to be.
Yeah. Anyway, so there you go. That's the update. To get a tape, I've never heard that before.
Quite.
Right.
Before we move on to our next item, I think we should just do our Brum track.
I think we should too.
I think we should do our Brum track. Now, our Brum track tonight is from probably one of the most popular and widely known of Birmingham groups, Duran Duran.
I love Duran Duran.
I love Duran.
Love Duran Duran.
And it's Ordinary World. Well, there's our absolutely fabulous Brum track, Ordinary World from Duran Duran. Kind of forget, really quite how good they were. My lovely lady wife and myself a few years ago went and saw them at the NEC, and they were great. And the warm-up act was Seal, who was absolutely, flipping fantastic. So there we are. I'd like to say that we have our first sort of guest in the background, and I say that because I can hear noise and feedback from him. John, can you hear me?
Hello.
John is the very dear friend, my oldest friend. Chronologically, in terms of age and in terms of times I've known him, that I have, and John and his wife are, my dearest and longest friends. Anyway, John, I've already mentioned that Alice has just had her second hip operation. So how's she doing?
She's doing fine. She's just out of the theatre. And she's resting. At the moment she's out of pain.
Good.
That will change quickly, and hopefully, if her temperatures are down and she's no infection, then she's out like she did last time. She could come home quite earlier, and I'm very impressed on how quick a turnaround they can do this kind of thing. And then I'll bring her here. I was trying to give away a ticket to Peru only this morning because I booked the flight for a month away, mooching down the Amazon. Last year I went up the Amazon to Iquitos, and I was then going to go from Lima down to Iquitos and just link it up the other way. But her operation was brought forward 3 weeks, so I thought, well, I better step into that position that I'm supposed to be.
I don't think you really had much choice in that one, did you?
That's right. Well, the thing is, she deserves it, my friend. I have done a lot of travelling, and I have abused her in many ways for lots of years. So, She deserves it.
Yeah.
She's a good old one.
Listen,
As you know, mate.
As I
she's a
know
stalwart.
only too well, if anybody deserves it, she does, and I'll certainly give her, I'll give her a call tomorrow. But it's right that she's just come back from China, isn't it? We mentioned that I think on a previous podcast.
Yes, absolutely. A month away in China, Vietnam, with a friend of hers, and
what was his name?
I am not saying because I'll offend someone. And right, so it's the first big trip away.
Yeah.
I'm quite impressed that she's done it, and case wasn't quite as enormous as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And she's been with a friend, Wendy, and China. Vietnam, she's enjoyed it.
Yeah,
she needs to do more, because then while she's away, I can get on with some real stuff. So it's Mr. Madams there.
He is here.
I am. I'm definitely here.
John,
the voice of reason. and
oh my God!
And I hope we can agree that I'm managing to hold your friend at least on the right side of sanity for once.
My friend, who's that then?
Well, yeah, no. Hang on. I have a very similar attitude to this as well.
Yeah. Hey, I've really enjoyed listening to this rubbish. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
Now then, today I've heard the world's greatest whiskey is...
Oh, hang on.
Oh, hang on. Yep, we're going to get into that now. Hang on, just a minute. Wait a minute. Let me just make sure I get the right jingle here. Hang on. So John, that we've widened because of diversity and inclusivity. We've gone beyond Scotch, so we had to include some other varieties. So tonight, and this is no hint as to the origin of the alcohol we're about to consume.
I reckon it's time for the mystery moonshine now there, boy.
Is this wild turkey or some other...
We don't know.
The conceit of this is there is a mystery whiskey in a bag, and each week one of us brings the whiskey. It's always going to be the whiskey, even if it's not.
Even if it's not whiskey.
It's always going to be the mystery whiskey, which might be more mysterious. And we bring it to the table, and the other one has to taste it and give us his tasting notes without knowing what it is. So without further ado,
John, we will if you listen in, you are our first guest and you are our first live listener as well.
Yeah, the rest of the day.
If you're happy to sit in the background there, we're going to John. Now, I'm going to hide my eyes while John pours the whiskey.
Hang on.
Oh, this sounds quite intriguing.
Hang on. We like
it's a shame I'm missing out on the whiskey.
We like to do all the sound effects. Hang on.
It smells good.
Right, so we have the mystery whiskey.
Oh,
just put it down, and
it's extremely pale.
And as we always do on this, we begin.
And as you always do, you give me the smallest one.
Yeah, well, you can't take it. So anyway, the first thing we do,
John, I'm just going to ask you to put yourself on mute if you could, because you're getting a lot of feedback.
I'm struggling with that, Mark, on this phone. I can put.
It's all right. I can mute you.
Please mute me.
Please.
Okay.
Anyway, lovely to speak to you.
I'll give Alice. She's in the hospital. Which hospital is she in, John?
She's in the Claremont, the private one in Sheffield.
Hang on. Let me make a note. Okay,
Claremont.
Okay, got it. All right. Speak to you soon.
Take care.
All
the best.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye.
See you. Bye. Right. So let's do our usual. What do you think of the colour?
The colour is extremely pale.
How pale?
It's
non-existent.
It's water. It's got.
So go for the nose.
So it's got a bit. No, it's it's not going to be just vodka, is it? It's not smelling very complex. It's not sake because that has to be warm at the sort of body.
No, cold sake in Japan is considered better than
it's
warm
not cloudy
sake.
enough.
I'm just saying.
It's not sake. It's got a very slight smell to it. Nothing terribly distinctive.
I'd say quite a strong smell, wouldn't you? Mark, Mark, I can actually see your nasal hairs shriveling up.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something going on there. You did ask about the Japanese jingle. Nope. I'm not getting anything other than...
I thought that was quite flavoursome, that sip.
But
I thought it was genuinely quite flavoursome, like quite harsh, don't get me wrong.
says nothing to me.
Okay, so you've still got to give your best guess.
Well, it's probably some sort of regional variation of vodka, which is basically just vodka with another name. I mean, they call it Slivovitz, they call it Raki, and they call it all sorts of bollocks, don't they? But I think it's just... Pachin. Well,
Irish.
Exactly.
It's
some sort of...
It's the first time we've had Irish Pachin on the show.
It's just vodka.
It's not vodka. It's definitely got taste to it.
No, it hasn't.
It has.
Okay, well, what's it supposed to be made of?
Potatoes?
Potatoes.
Potatoes.
Listen, I'll tell you what. It doesn't matter what you make it of. If you stick it in a reflux still, all you'll get is bloody vodka. You'll get, 90 to 94% pure alcohol coming out.
So are you telling me this doesn't taste like moonshine? Because it does to me.
No, but moonshine is vodka. The best moonshine is just bloody vodka. It's
Why
40,
don't you
it's
explain?
40%.
Why don't you explain then how you put flavour into the vodka? Because
Right.
the vodka is the base, isn't it? In effect.
Okay. Well, this says
tails.
spirits distilled from malted barley. It doesn't say anything about potatoes in there at all. So basically, it's just vodka. That's what they make it.
I've drank a lot of vodka, and there's some nice vodkas.
When
We may
we-
do that. This has a different flavour. I'm not sure. I'm
This
not
is
sure. I'll
nothing
say
but-
I'm
listen,
like it.
This is
but
Irish
this is
Pachin
not-
as it should be. Malted barley, triple distilled in copper pot stills and cut with Irish spring water. That's not That's not Pachin. That's just bloody bog
Vodka
standard
with a different
grain
name.
vodka.
Right. So you're not impressed.
No, vodka. And I've done some research into this for reasons we will explain in a later episode.
Yes.
Pachin,
Which our wives have issues
Pachin
with.
was made with anything that was available.
You said molasses, didn't you?
No, but malted barley in quantity was not readily available to the peasant population of Ireland. Scotch is made from malted barley. The difference between that and Scotch is that Scotch has been stuck in a barrel, for many years. That's how it comes out. Now, proper Pachin, if the variations of Pachin would be made with potatoes, with molasses, which was readily available, as a supplement to horse feed, and malted barley if they could get it. Now, the malted barley was essential because it contained the enzyme amylase, which would break down the potato starch into sugar, which would then make it amenable to turning into alcohol by the yeast. Okay, from
I'm guessing you don't like it.
it's just
Right.
vodka.
I'll tell you what. When we have the next, when we
and
have
I
the
have
next,
a friend.
When we have the next music,
I have a
break-
friend who likes to distill his own vodka.
Yes, so do I.
And
Yes.
it's damn sight better than that.
Right. So, my view on it is that it's. I'm going to keep it, to drink neat vodka is difficult anyway.
No, it's not. It's damned easy.
Yeah, right. But I'd say that feels quite harsh. But we will see. But what I will do in the next break is jump back to some warm-up wine. I'll get some more warm-up wine.
Yeah.
But for now, have we got music or have we got the next subject? Which are we doing?
I think
Have we got one more music?
We've got. I think we have. I think we should have some more music,
and then we'll have our.
And this is a bit of a departure from the.
Is it heavy metal? Is it heavy metal again, Mark?
No. This is no. We've not had any of this before. This is a bit of jazz.
Groovy. Nice.
Nice. This is a bit of late night jazz from Kamal Williams, and its repercussions. Great. Well, a fantastic piece of contemporary jazz there.
I really like that. Actually.
That's
really
really cool.
nice.
It's great. Groovy.
Right.
Groovy. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have decided, in age and wisdom, to discover. Hang on, no. Let me just make my point about verbal.
Too late.
No,
You can't do it on the back
I
of you
can.
messing up.
I can.
All right,
I
go
can
on.
because right. Now, our research has indicated that the strongest predictor of politically correct authoritarianism was in fact lower verbal intelligence, then being female, then having a feminine temperament, and then having ever taken a politically correct education course in that order.
Sorry, can you say it again? Because
But
that
the-
was just...
the intelligence effect.
Sorry, where are you reading it from? Start from
Hang
there.
on a minute.
Who says this?
The literature. This is a quote from this is a quote from
The literature.
Okay. Our research. This is from. I actually looked up the papers from the University of Toronto. The greatest predictor of being a left-wing, politically correct authoritarian is low verbal intelligence, followed by being female, followed by having a feminine temperament if you're a male. Okay. Followed by having ever taken a politically correct education course. And then he says in response to, I've been accused of being implying that people who believe in gender ideology are of lower intelligence, lack critical thinking skills, etc. Allow me to clarify. I'm not implying these things. I'm stating them unequivocally.
Who says this? He says.
Jordan
Who's the
Peterson.
he?
Jordan Peterson.
Oh, is that Jordan Peterson
yeah,
one?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
He must be right then.
Yeah, you must be right.
If it's St. Jordan,
but
he
my
must be
point
right.
is that John's lack of verbal fluency obviously shows that. Yeah, there we go.
It would be
I
a
leave
little-
our audience, our jury, the unimpeachable jury, who are
Of public opinion.
capable of making their own decisions about these things.
I just love the fact that you began this though with a complete word fluff. As you started, you did.
No, listen, I got the defense of alcohol. Which in these
Right,
seconds,
let's get on
it's
the
not
serious
a defense
subject.
in law.
Hang on.
It may be defense for
anyone
psychological
who has clawed their way to this point in
Yeah.
the podcast deserves
Thank
a
you.
serious
Yes.
subject.
We've decided to find out, discover,
discover,
discern whether we are toxically masculine or not. Say toxic. Say toxically
I'm sorry.
masculine.
It's
John.
rarely as good as this. Go on, Mark.
Listen,
go on.
John
go on.
couldn't.
What was
he
that
couldn't
about?
have it.
Lack of verbal skills,
Go on.
Mark? Go on.
No, I've got alcohol as a defense. Go on, you say it. Toxically masculine.
Toxically masculine. What's wrong with that?
Whatever.
By the way,
so-
this one's for the YouTube.
So myself and my
Right.
good, lovely lady wife watched start of a documentary on Channel 4 about presented by Danny Dyer about masculinity, toxic masculinity. So we decided, and he did this test. So we decided to see whether we were toxically masculine. We're definitely masculine,
or even masculine.
We're definite. No, well, you might know. There may be some question mark over you.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you would be.
Right, let's go.
Okay. But
So what we do, we're gonna
just
do
let me just preface this first of all, because I think this is a really important subject. Because I know a lot of youngsters, a lot of young men get marginalized, and they find themselves then being driven to these ghettos, like the
Incels.
the incels. The what's the name of the guy? That guy,
Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate. Yeah, I mean, if ever there was an example of toxic masculinity, it's him. I think he's an example of the wrong kind of man. My definition of a man is, strong, tolerant, imperfect, competent, and honourable. Okay, those are my.
Good luck with that.
I know. No.
What you're saying?
No, but I think it's look.
I'm only taking the piss. We've both grown up, and I think all men who hold relationships, have families, have children, and all that kind of thing. It's a journey, and it's interesting because you think of your
journey.
Well, you think of your 20-year-old self and your 30-year-old self, 40-year-old self, and where we are now, and it is a journey. Just as there's a journey for women, there's a journey for men, and you're definitely stating the ideal. And what's interesting to me is that ideal was pretty much there in your 20s. You had your visions of heroes, visions of what kind of man. The culture
role
gave
models,
you. The culture gave you role models, and it gave you ideas of what a man was. And one of the particular ones I seem to see, and that's where drama and the arts work in the world as well, is you protect the weak. The whole idea of the hero protects the weak, and is in control, and is clever, and has attributes.
Is competent and intelligent.
And so, if that's what you've got when you're 20 as a role model to look forward to, and you move through, and basically, if it modifies in the real world, but it modifies in the sense that if you can form strong relationships. If you can treat the people around you, both male and female partners and mates and stuff, with respect and also knockabout, but still with respect.
And not only treat respect. I think it's a more difficult job is to earn respect.
I think both. Personally, I think they kind of go together. But
anyway. We can all treat people with respect. To be able to earn other people's respect is a much more difficult thing. As Shakespeare said, reputation is hard won and easily lost.
Okay. Anyway, the point I'm agreeing with you is that the idealized version of what we aspire to is that. But I want to get back to whether we're toxic.
Well, the precursor to that is, I just think
you want to show
leading into
some
this
serious.
There's a lot leads into this because we are pilloried for characteristics that were, long regarded as desirable.
What are we pilloried for?
Well, we're pilloried for if we want to if a man wants to sort of finds himself in a situation and wants to take charge and so on and so forth. They're criticised for doing that, for trying to, dominate their
mansplaining.
Well, any number of things we are criticised for, which if push came to shove, if suddenly Russia started launching flipping missiles over here, the whole landscape would change. But let me just make my point briefly. We are depicted as bumbling and incompetent most of the times, and I just think, a lot of those criticisms are well-founded. But if we're going to meet them, then we need to step up to what we should be. I think I do agree
that there's a weird kind of norm now, which is... And largely, certainly the women we are with and hang with are very, very capable, very successful, have pushed ahead and succeeded generally in their work environment. And then there's a very comfortable, which I think has kind of always been there, but it's an interesting one, which is that everyone talks as though the men are children almost, and how they look after us and how they keep us on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
And maybe, I'm trying to think in my imagery of the 50s and stuff, and whether women quietly said that, but never was it the normal, at least in terms of films you see, never was it the normal accepted actual view. No. And what seems to have slipped in, and I agree with you, is there's a bit of that becoming the real view. And what that doesn't leave us with is being admired. And one thing men really want is respect, both from other men.
We want it, but we have to earn it, is my point.
No, but even if you do earn it, there's a cultural... There's almost and certainly I'm talking about middle class, there's a cultural presumption against that being celebrated.
Yeah,
because
there
it's
is.
almost like
No,
by
I agree.
celebrating that, you're putting women down, which isn't at all what we're trying to
You're
get
absolutely
to.
right about that. You're absolutely right about that. You know, if a man is strong and competent and so on and so forth, and has a legitimate view, this is why I make the point about, you know, if the balloon went up and all that sort of
Zombies,
stuff.
I go for.
Yeah, zombies, whatever, you know, and a strong, intelligent man steps in. You know, we cannot afford to be ruled by a committee, and certainly not by a bunch of women.
You know, when
yakking at each other.
You know, when
you
he
need
takes
someone
that one
who can
extra
make
step.
a decision.
Can we
and who's
please, though?
prepared-
I think we should keep dropping back to the more
No,
serious.
but my point is, and one of the
we should use these as sorts.
one of the tropes that really annoys me, and this is one that some men play up to, is that you know, if I were to ask you, John, are you any good at DIY?
Yes, I'm very good at DIY.
Really?
Yeah, I really am. I am good at DIY.
No, absolutely, and so am I.
I'm quite good at woodwork. I'm quite good at metalwork.
Yep.
I can work my way around a bit of bodging when bodging needs
Absolutely.
to. But I also kind of know what good is, and that's a different project.
No, I agree with you.
So yes, I am.
I agree with you. And when
I
you
came
get
up in
these
an
blokes
era
say,
where you got good.
Oh, you know, I can't. Oh, you know, it would all fall down. I can't.
No, I think
put
it's
an icon.
I think it's a generation thing. I think there is a generation. I think we came through where you were expected to get good at things,
Of
doing
course you
stuff.
were.
But I don't think I get a feeling when I talk to our children's generation. I get a feeling they're going to have to get
Listen,
it
you
when
and
they're
I,
in
you
their
and I
30s. they
started
will.
out in a generation where still, you know, the man went out and earned the money, and the woman, you know, generally speaking, stayed at home and raised the kids.
No, I was post. I feel I was post. I'm
No,
younger
I
than
wasn't.
you.
I was
I'm younger than you.
I wasn't telling. Anyway, my point is,
And also, you were brought up in Ireland, and I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think that regional thing is more important than the chronology.
Maybe, but my point is, you get a certain type of man who will say, "Oh, you know, I'm totally incompetent."
No, the
doing-"
modern generation
hang
do
on,
that
hang
more.
on, all that sort of stuff. Pretend that they're too cerebral. Well, I'm sorry.
That's a different thing.
I'm sorry. If you can't, you know, if you don't feel you can do DIY, then fucking learn. Fucking get a grip
but what's
of it.
interesting is if you say men are better at DIY, if you go that step and you go, which statistically I'm quite
Which
sure is
we
true.
are.
Hang on, which is completely true. In the same way as men are basically bricklayers are mostly men, right? It's so obvious, right? No, and the guys.
I'm sorry, pit of woman but bricklayer. You know, the odd,
there will be one.
the very few women bricklayers against most men bricklayers, they probably do really well.
No,
the thing is,
the thing about
you've
equality,
really got to want to be a bricklayer if you're a female
The
bricklayer.
argument of equality that I'm with Peterson on this, Jordan Peterson. I just am. Equality of opportunity.
Yep.
I'm 100%
Absolutely
behind.
unqualified.
Equality of outcome is a completely different question.
Right.
Because most women don't want to be bricklayers. Most women don't want to do dangerous jobs. They don't want to be sewer workers. They don't want to be.
No.
They don't want to be tube drivers or work on railways. They don't want to do that. We should honour and respect that on a gender difference. Lots of men are very happy to do that. So that I do believe, and I think you believe, there are gender differences. It's to be celebrated. It's part of the fun of the whole thing.
Of course it is. Absolutely. But you know, the point Jordan Peterson makes repeatedly, and that this is borne out by the statistics.
I can't believe you had the temerity to start a whole conversation about
Shut
lack of
the
verbal
fuck
skills.
up.
Honestly.
Listen, it's only
Yeah.
alcohol vitiates that whole thing. Anyway, that in the most egalitarian society in the world, Sweden, where there are literally no boundaries to anybody doing what they want, the gender rules have not become narrowed; they've become widened. When people are given the complete choice to do what they want, you know. Unfettered
Equality of outcome. Equality of outcome.
So women go into motherhood, childcare, nursing, the caring professions. Men go into engineering. Blah blah
And
blah.
we should celebrate that.
Of
It's great.
course we should.
But can you do the
But what-
first question? I want to know if I'm toxic or
No,
not.
just a minute. I'm going to say one more thing. When women, assert their feminism. What I see is them basically emulating some of the worst characteristics of men. So it's like, it's like sort of when feminists exerted their sexual freedom and go out and sleep with loads of people. Listen, it's not great for a man to go out and sleep with loads of people. It's certainly not great for a woman to do so. But why do women always seem to choose the worst aspects of male behavior to emulate and try and exert their freedom?
Because they don't. You're making it up.
No, I'm not making it up.
You are.
No.
You're taking. Hang on a
minute.
You're taking some women that do it. Hang on. Some women. Some activists
blah,
do
blah,
it.
blah.
And,
Let me finish what I was going to say.
A blanket statement.
Let me finish what I was going to say.
It's wrong.
There was a recent advert that was repeated, and it was an advert for Amazon, which was sort of putting their sponsorship of the women's football and so on and so forth. And what it depicted really was a load of women football players behaving like badly behaved men football players. I would hope to see from women better behaviour. And I think, why would you do that?
But why do you expect that?
Well, no, because I would...
Because women aren't just homogenous. There's badly behaved women and there's well-behaved women, there is men.
No, I know, but they were holding up the badly behaved female behaviour.
Like the media does. I mean,
it's an
selling
advertisement.
Stories. All right, well.
It's if I saw men behaving like that way on the football, I'd say no, it's not good. It's not great. It's not a great example to boys. It's not how I would want boys to be brought up. Anyway, so let's go on to the first 10 of 35.
Quick, it has to be a bit quick fire.
Yeah, it has to be quick fire. Okay. Question 1 of 35. My partner and/or friends expect me to use violence to defend my reputation if I have to. Agree, disagree, or halfway between either or the middle?
Disagree.
You
shouldn't need to use violence to defend your reputation.
Okay, that's good.
What about you?
No, I agree. That would be mine.
Right, okay. So you lead off and I...
My partner and my friends, expect me to use violence to defend my reputation if I have to. No, my partner and my friends do not expect that.
Right. So I've said it, you've agreed.
Yep.
Now it's your turn to go first.
Okay, next. I get angry more frequently than most people I know. I disagree with that. I don't get angry very much.
Is it about you or is it about me? Me.
No,
I'm saying... when I answer, am I answering about me?
I get angry more frequently than most people I know. I don't think I disagree with that.
So when I answer, am I answering about me?
You're answering about you.
Right. No, I don't think I get more angry than most people I know.
We're spot on so far.
Mm-hmm. Assuming these are the right answers. I mean,
well, there's no right or wrong answers.
Yeah, there is. One of them leads you to be a toxic male.
Okay.
Right, moving on. My turn then first.
Yeah,
Tom.
It's easy to make me angry.
No.
Disagree.
And you?
I disagree.
Yep.
It's not easy to make me angry. I'm a very tolerant, even-tempered, sensible
Apart
chap.
from in podcasts.
Having a lot of money is especially important to me.
No, it's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn.
You've got to go first.
There's like a neither agree nor disagree, and there's a halfway between that.
What are you
and
going
disagree.
for?
I'm going for. I'm going for neither agree nor disagree.
Put me on the spot as well. Hang on. Read the question again.
Having a lot of money is especially important to me. So I'm going
I'll say no, it's not especially important to me.
Well, do you disagree or do you halfway disagree?
Is that what it literally says?
You've got neither agree nor disagree.
Right.
You've got disagree or agree, and then you've got halfway.
I'll go halfway.
Okay.
Because it's everybody who's got a reasonable amount of money likes it.
No.
There's no question. As a male, you feel you have achieved something.
I
can't ignore that.
I get it.
But is it especially important? Then I've got to say no. So I'm going halfway.
Yeah, well,
halfway.
You're going halfway between the middle and disagree.
It's too complicated.
I'm going halfway between the two. Neither agree nor disagree. And you've gone one step towards disagree.
Yeah, but not.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So is it 5? Is it like a 5 scale? Or something?
Is.
Right. Okay.
Question 5. I can make myself angry about something in the past just by thinking about it.
This is you.
I disagree.
I'm going to go halfway. If I think about something in the past, I think
Neither
wrong,
agree nor disagree.
No, the other one.
Halfway between disagree and neither agree nor disagree.
I don't. Right, I'll say it to you. You decide where it goes. If I think about something that was wrong in the past, I can be angry about it. It doesn't make me do anything, but I can be angry about things that.
Right. Well, then you disagree.
Okay.
And then you agree. Yeah. You get. No,
Right.
you agree.
I can. Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm too lazy to sort of hold a grudge.
Right.
Okay. Question 6. If I discovered a friend was gay, I would consider ending the friendship. Nah,
No,
disagree
absolutely
completely.
not, yeah.
No, disagree completely. Even if I am angry, I try to talk about tense situations with people without letting them know I'm angry.
Yes. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I'd
go
agree with
yes
that.
on that.
I'd agree with that.
Your turn.
I wouldn't pretend to like someone just to get them to do favors for me. Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't pretend.
No.
Okay.
A bit. I mean, enough to do a podcast.
Yeah. People sometimes bother me by just being around me. Oh, I agree. I agree with that one. I agree. No, but sometimes people...
No,
some people just bother me by being around me. I'm sorry. Some people I just... I don't necessarily show that.
I'm honestly thinking about that. Yeah, exactly. You don't show it. I think, that's got to be universal.
Yeah.
There are some people who bother you just by being around you because of who they are, whether you show it or not. No, I think we agree on that.
Okay, cool. And 10, a guy who doesn't fight back when others push him around is weak.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And now that can be verbal fight back, it can be whatever, but someone who doesn't push back, doesn't respect themselves.
No, they don't.
Or is so afraid of confrontation that they can't bear to do it. And I'm with you. God, my God, I think I'm in love with you. I think
John, I've known that for years. Why do you think I said
it's a revelation?
You found a friend of yours was gay.
It's a revelation.
Would
We
you
have
end in the friendship?
we have basically agreed on everything. Now these are the first 10. Are we doing more?
No,
or are we
let's
done?
do 15. Let's split it
Okay.
in half, or 17.
Right, so we do half.
Okay,
Right, carry on.
okay.
But so far these have been easy back questions. With the odd one that's made you think, but
You don't
basically they're very straightforward.
Yeah, okay.
Right, go on.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Go on.
I wouldn't use flattery to get my way, even if I thought it would succeed. I kind of would a bit. I kind of would like to think that I would.
It depends if it's important, doesn't it? It depends if it's important.
Well, this is all the qualifications to this type of question. I'm going to neither agree nor disagree on
I'll
that
go with
one.
that one. Yeah. But may I say, I thought your
just
answer there
cute.
was really, really good and considered, Mark.
You're just copying me. You want to be like me, don't you? Really?
That's the flattery. That's the flattery. God, he catches irony so fucking quick. God, I'll put my hand up next time. Right, go on.
Okay, now this is an interesting one. I would steal $1 million if I knew I would never get caught.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I would.
No, I kind of wouldn't.
I mean, I wouldn't steal it from pensioners, but I'd steal I'd
you're
steal
stealing
it from
some-
Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak.
Well, that doesn't allow you to
All right.
choose who
And
you're
let me
stealing
be
it from.
serious. Would I actually steal it?
just
The answer is actually no, but I'm not entirely sure. Wait. No, wait. I'm not entirely sure
Some
I'm saying
serious
I'm not
form of flattery.
I'm not sure that I'm saying it from any moral point of view. I just actually wouldn't. Would
Well,
I?
interesting-
I'm going to say neither agree or disagree because I might.
Interesting, the Tory.
Yeah, but you're
The
lying.
Tory.
Tory's
No, I'm
lying.
not.
You
No,
began,
really
by the
not.
way, you began this podcast, if you recall, by saying, "Of course I'll lie. Of course I'll do anything.
No,
We're Tories."
The world is kind of tongue in cheek.
Right, anyway, next.
Listen, I'm sorry. No, really. I kind of couldn't.
But part of that's because you don't need to. And I don't mean because you are a million.
No.
I don't mean that. But the truth is, you've got a comfortable life. Everything's fine. You wouldn't. Right. Let me see if I can put this in a context that makes slightly, Mary.
Let me.
If
What
you
you
were-
mean is, let me see if I can, as a lefty, wriggle out of
No,
my
no.
position
We
on
both
this
do it.
one.
If you were starving in some bombed out fucking
That's
city.
not that you don't get to add those qualifications into this.
Next question. I think you would.
No, I wouldn't.
I know you would.
It does not bother me to see homosexual couples in public.
That's right. It doesn't
It
bother
doesn't
me
bother
at all. That's a very different question, though, isn't it? I mean, those questions, the homosexual thing seems to me, I guess, toxic masculinity. I don't know how it links, because that's just to do with your attitudes towards homosexuality. Why is that automatically?
Well, listen, this is part of my whole thing about this.
I get that, yeah.
But you would expect someone who is a bit more of a Neanderthal sort of, toxic,
But I love Blackadder's great line on that one. It's like, more women for us real men. It's like, it doesn't matter how you get there.
The one I like is that I've always supported gay marriage, because gays have the right to be as miserable as the rest.
It's like, however you get to equality is a legitimate route. Anyway, go on.
When I get angry, I calm down faster than most people. Well, I don't really get angry, but I would have to say I agree with that.
I would say neither agree or disagree. If I get angry, and hang on, and it's rare, I can't just switch it off. It's not like gone, and it's not gone quicker than I could say other people. It's, if I'm angry, and I might well calm down, and I might well not, but ultimately I'll come off the elf. Yeah. But no, my reactions aren't that quick. I can't say I lose my anger faster than anyone else.
I'm a bit of a peacemaker, really. I can't hold a grudge against anybody, and people I've had really big fallings out with, I know. I really quite like.
This is a YouTube moment, because I'm looking at the man going.
I can't hold an argument. I just
anyway, right. So that's your answer.
Yeah, that's my answer.
I'm not doing my job
well.
We're
fit. Well, we might as well go for the whole thing now. Being around gay people makes me uncomfortable. Disagree. Blah 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 blah.
It's interesting, the questions, isn't it?
Yeah, but
it's an assumption that masculinity is tied to your view.
When I was younger, I was kind of pretty.
You were still pretty.
I'm not still pretty.
No, you are still pretty.
But I used to get a lot of attention from guys, and it never bothered me. It never bothered me.
But you don't fear them. The interesting one about anger and hatred towards gays, to me, is.
It's how you make you feel about yourself.
I don't know about that, but if you're afraid of, if you're angered about people being gay, it feels like a fear response. Because it feels like a fear response, because what are you afraid of? They want to have sex with each other, right? And they might want to have sex with you, but no one's going to fucking force you. So what are you afraid of? Anyway, carry on. The questions seem a bit dumb, actually. I'm afraid. An American from the dollar thing.
I agree with you.
And a bit angled.
A real man should have as many sexual partners as he can. I disagree.
I think this has an American polarized. Do you agree? Just because we're both going, well, that's bullshit.
Well, I disagree with the fundamental premise of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's a thing, and
we tried it.
Yeah.
Right. So rattle them out, because
a man should have the final say about decisions in his relationships or marriage.
No.
Are we a relationship? I should have the final say in our relationship.
But you don't.
No, of course not.
Right. So no. Yeah. Go on. Rattle them off.
Okay. All right. Men should figure out their personal problems on their own without asking others for help. I kind of agree with that.
I
do agree.
Okay, that's fine. I don't agree in the sense that you can, and I agree it's quite a masculine thing and not a wrong thing to sort your own shit out. There's that aspect. But I think being masculine is also about kind of having a genuine assessment of where you are. So in other words, if you can sort your shit out, that's fine. But part of being masculine is to go problem solving. If you have a problem sorting your shit out, go to other people, mates, partners, lovers. Go to someone else and go, what do you think?
I was about to say the same kind of thing. Right. I've always been pretty good at telling myself that, if nobody else is going to sort my shit out other than me.
True. And I agree with that.
And I've been good at telling myself. But I get not all people are necessarily in the same place. I don't hold myself at some sort of paragon because I can do that, and maybe I've just been lucky or whatever.
I also,
I agree that some people may need a bit of help. But what I don't agree with is those people that then allow themselves to become dependent. It becomes a lifestyle. If a person's prepared to needs a bit of help just to get themselves out there, then fine. But there are too many people that are too happy to make their problems a lifestyle. And anyway,
I think you've gone too wide on the question. I didn't read the question that way. I read it like, I think the aim of being masculine is to win. Is to kind of play the game.
It kind
and
of
win.
is, yeah.
Hang on, play the game and win, where I think we agree. If I can just look at myself and sort my shit out, that's one way of winning. If I think I'm very happy to ask for help, I'm very happy to talk to someone else, I'm very happy to look for other routes if that's better. In other words, because the aim is to win, which is, I think, quite a masculine thing to win. And winning might well involve going asking for help, going asking for advice. What you then do with that advice is you make a decision.
Yeah.
You do it. So I'm only trying to say I kind of come in at a wider perspective.
yeah.
than
But
that.
on the
Anyway.
narrow question, I think men should figure out their personal problems on their own without asking.
No, I don't agree.
Yeah.
I disagree with you on that one.
Okay. Right, well, we're going to go up to 20 because I think we've gone far enough. We've got 2 more left. A man who talks a lot about his worries, fears, and problems shouldn't really get respect. I kind of agree
disagree.
with that.
No, I disagree.
No,
So
I
it's
can't
interesting.
agree with that.
We have actually had a couple of questions. I disagree with that. I think I know what you mean. You
I
mean
think
the
you should
whiny.
just
You mean
fucking
whine.
sort
No, you're
yourself
talking
out.
about whininess
Well-
and self resilience.
Again, this is the problem with these things
It's-
because
yeah.
some people, make
What do we
make
mean?
a kind of a thing about their problems, and it's their own
And
it's their own
excuses.
way of
And
relating
excuses.
to other people.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I can't do that. I can't. I feel uncomfortable. I think
But that's why I don't like the questions because I'm agreeing with you now. You know what I mean? Your interpretation of it, which is how you come at things. That kind of. I just agree with you. I think if you're sitting there going, "Oh, it's mine. It's not my fault. Oh, this, that, and the other," then you and I would agree completely.
Yeah.
You go, that's certainly not masculine. And screw toxic.
Sure.
I think so we're going to stop at 20.
Yeah.
I feel there is a really good conversation to be had.
Yeah.
And I also suspect there are good questions that can do it. This ain't it. It's generic.
I agree with you.
It's not giving us a thing where, apart from accidentally, it's not giving anything where you and I can actually talk about masculinity, especially not toxic masculinity. But I'm conscious of where we are.
But
What's your
this
feeling?
this is why I kind of think that things.
We'll go
like,
for another one.
Yeah. Well, the last question is
go
something
on.
makes me angry almost every day. No, I haven't got the energy. To
Absolutely not.
Yeah, great. Okay. So, but this is my point. We, as older, sensible gentlemen, with a bit of perspective on life, we can sort of kind of put that into perspective. We can see the faults.
I've got a Porsche Roadster S.
Yeah, no.
One of us isn't sensible,
I'm sorry. Yeah, quite.
whereas one of us has a Volvo, and I agree. Really sensible.
We'll leave it to the ladies and gentlemen and our non-binary people as well to decide which is the no. I don't want to decide which is the most sensible, Porsche Boxster or Volvo.
Anyway, back to.
But
I think we should
hang on. No. My point
go
is
on.
though that if young men are being directed to this,
Yeah, it's a bit shit.
it's a bit shit. And if they come out
They
of
should
this,
come and listen to us.
yeah, they should do. No, really.
Intelligent. We should have a genuine, intelligent conversation about toxic masculinity. It's an absolutely legitimate topic. It's a topic we're into. By the way, just so everybody knows who's listened to this, we didn't know the questions before we asked them. So I'm a bit disappointed only because
It's a bit shit.
it didn't take us where we wanted
And
to
it
go.
doesn't define what toxic masculinity. Listen,
But there are good questions that you can ask.
It's a phrase that's used. I've heard it. Well, in fact, one of the articles that I pulled up. was about a woman who had glassed a man in a pub.
You said, yeah.
You know, because he overestimated her age when asked to say, "How old do you think I am?" You know, I mean, God.
But Mark,
Listen, we're all capable of bad behavior. What I mean is toxic masculinity is just bad behavior. Men and women are all prone to bad behavior. To label it as toxic masculinity is it's something, you know, specific to men is wrong.
No, it's crap. And there's people who've been glassed for looking at my bird the wrong way.
It's the female equivalent of looking at me in a funny way.
I think the boundary that's interesting. I'm with you that toxic masculinity is a easily thrown out phrase because most people don't define it, and without defining it, what the hell are you talking about?
What the hell?
But where the boundary is much more interesting to me is we live in a culture that I see where female positive attributes are celebrated without question.
Yep.
And I'm happy to do that as well.
Yeah.
Right? Communication skills, dedication, loyalty, whatever the process, whatever you get. And when that's done, there's no tear down. There's no tear down at all. There is women doing it together, supporting each other, blah, blah, blah. It's all stated as positives. And yet these women are having sons, they've got husbands, they've got boyfriends, the straight ones, obviously. But
we live.
Actually, in terms of husbands and sons, certainly husbands.
I think that's a very judgment call you made there. Anyway, shows your prejudices.
I honestly think it's interesting within this debate, and really, I don't know the answers, but I know the questions are really quite important. But the moment you try and define anything that's positive about men, the immediate thing is, well, are you saying they're better than women? Are you saying they're better than
absolutely.
women? And you are. There's no question. There can't have differences, and especially if you're saying differences that are positive. You can't say that without saying, well, positive relative to women, I guess. So when you say positive things about women relative to men, everyone goes, that's fine. But no question, no tearing down. And the issue is, how do you, the Andrew Tate point with young men or incels, how do you bring up young men to feel powerful? It's one of the things we want to feel powerful and to feel that they have qualities that are better than women. It's a really tough question. I think, how do you do it?
I think you phrased the question wrongly. Right. We should not be looking to define ourselves by reference to women. We should be looking to be the best people that we can be. And we should be teaching our boys to be. So what we should be is we should be
celebrate what we're good at without reference.
Yeah, without reference, completely. We should be physically strong and competent.
Which is less important in the modern world than it ever was.
Wrongly so.
Well,
wrongly,
so.
No.
Fact. Just fact.
No.
When we were stronger, we used to wield a sword better. But therefore, you were the strongest fighter. Now with a gun, that doesn't matter.
Know, but our bodies don't know that.
No, but our culture, our culture does.
But our culture does, but our bodies don't. And from our bodies,
we're not talking about bodies.
We are. We are absolutely talking about. Well, you tapped your head.
No, brain.
There.
I'm saying sorry.
Yeah, but you separate the two wrongly, because when we are physically strong, on a physiological level, we generate more testosterone.
So you're saying we're happier.
We're happier, we are stronger, we are fitter. And when we are happier, stronger, and fitter, we are more competent. We're motivated then to get the skills that we need. You're screwing your eyes up.
It's the logical. It's the logical jump. I'm screwing my eyes over. If you're healthier and fitter, then you are more competent and more. It's just the logic of it. It's the steps you're making.
I've
got a problem with.
I'm not making an unsubstantiated leap, because testosterone levels and brain development in terms of male, developing the male brain are inextricably linked.
Evidence.
Oh, well, okay. I can get
Anyway,
it. My point is, though, that men are better when they are fitter, stronger, healthier.
So women.
No, listen, I'm saying this without reference to women.
No, fair enough.
Okay,
Right.
men
So
are
it's a simple
better men. Okay, when they are fitter, stronger, more competent,
go on.
more educated, more tested. Okay, I'm not just. Well, I'm sorry.
I'm
you
pulling
say
faces.
that from someone.
No, Mark,
Listen, I'm
Mark,
saying.
I'm pulling faces because you're making incredibly broad statements of what you are saying are fact, and I'm just not sure it's supported. I'm not pulling faces because I want to disagree with you.
Right.
I'm just not sure that you're not just stating stuff and that actually it's true.
Well, you say it from the point of view of someone who's not fitter and healthier and stronger.
then
And I'm saying it from the point of view of someone who has always, not perfectly, but maintained, fitness, health, and strength. And I'm sorry.
I think turning
let me
universal.
Let me just put the question this way.
You went personal. Sorry, Mark, you said personal, so I'm going to respond. If you're trying to make global truths about masculinity and maleness and what's good and bad, and all I'm saying is you're making very broad statements that I just can't blindly follow along with. Mm-hmm. To say that the answer to that is, well, look at you, John, and look at me.
No.
Oh, wait,
no,
which is what you just did. Hang on. To justify global statements, all I'm really trying to say is, a lot of it, I'd agree with you. Human beings are better if they're healthy and strong and fit, right?
Well, that's my point. That's all of my point.
Mark, I get that. Competence is a different thing. It's a huge area. And, we want people to be competent, right? That's great.
Women want men to be competent.
They do, and I agree. And we can get into that.
It's probably the most important
I'm trying to break that
quality.
down. And what we can also do, by the way, and I think we're running, frankly, a bit long, but I also agree with you. What we could definitely discuss with, if you fancy it for next week, is what do women find attractive in men as far as we know as men? I
think we should ask the women.
No, you don't do that. That was the most stupid idea since in Game of Thrones. They considered letting the people make a decision who led them.
Can I just say one thing quickly though about my point? My point didn't mean to get personal, but what I was saying to you was would you rather be, a fit, healthy, strong man, someone who has, regularly exercised and gone to the gym and, done all that stuff, or not?
Yes. And where did that
Well, which would you rather be?
Where did that take you?
What do you think is better for a person? Okay, let's say you've got a son, a hypothetical son. Would you want that son
have
to?
A son. It's not.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, then fine. What would you rather?
But Mark, I'm not even funny. I have no idea where this is going. Yes, I would like that son to be fit, healthy, competent, decisive, strong mentally. But where does this take us?
But we don't have a culture that encourages those qualities in boys, is my point. And we don't have a culture that rewards boys for achieving those things. I mean, fortunately, I didn't give a shit. I knew what I wanted to achieve.
I'm sorry. I just think our culture does reward those things. Almost every movie you ever watch is the hero male who's strong, fit, competent, cleverer.
What about these stupid programs? I mean, I watched something. Oh, I can't remember what it was called recently. But anyway, where this little 5'5" woman was kicking shit out of big grown men. No, I'm sorry. You can have a martial arts expert.
But why are you so afraid?
I'm not afraid.
You are.
Don't be stupid.
No,
I'm sorry. Don't be stupid. It's characterizing reality as being afraid.
But you just said a small woman kicking the ass out of some men.
But it's not realistic.
Some
I'm not
are. Some
afraid.
are.
Oh, bullshit. Show me an example. Find me a YouTube film of some woman,
Right. But
literally,
it sounds
genuinely kicking the shit out of a bloke who's bigger than her.
I'm quite convinced that if you take a black belt in a good martial art,
Find me a video.
why is it worrying you so
It
much?
doesn't worry
It
me.
does sound like it.
come on. That's pathetic.
Sounds
That's
like it.
utterly pathetic.
Sounds like it, Mark.
Anyway.
and it's what conservatism is. It's a
Oh,
fear of
bullshit.
fear of the other.
Bullshit is what lefties do because when they haven't got an argument to something. Hang on.
You think
hang
that
on,
perhaps this
hang on,
one's
hang on.
crunching into the ground?
Hang on. Right. Well, we're going to finish off. Do we want to finish off
With what?
with a song or are we going to go straight?
How many have we played?
Oh, I don't know.
Let's just finish off with a song. It'd be nice. Yeah.
Let's finish off with the song Snow Patrol and Shut Your Eyes. There we go. Shut Your Eyes. Shut Your Eyes by Snow Patrol. Good. So, I think we're kind of winding up here.
I think next week we may well have a start again and have a conversation about masculinity and toxic masculinity.
I think it's
only because I think I think we're more interesting than that quiz, and we should.
Yep.
I mean, it's there. By the way, if you've reached this point, when you watch a TV series and you kind of wish you hadn't watched the last episode, I personally think that hits that mark. I hope you've had a really, really enjoyable listen to this. Even we think the last bit didn't quite work, but we've had a really nice time otherwise, and I hope you guys have too.
Listen, it's a really important subject, and it's important to us all as fathers. And it's important to us all as fathers of both boys and girls, or boys that will be married to girls. That these issues are explored. We don't want our boys to be arseholes. We don't want our girls to
marry arseholes.
To marry arseholes. No, of course we don't. We don't, and it's an important issue. And listen, no bloke worth his salt is going to sit there and say that he's behaved himself in an exemplary manner, throughout his life. We've all made mistakes. I'm a third marriage, third time lucky, I have to say. But listen, I've been there and I've done it, and I've flipping paid the.
Right, I'm going to say this very nicely. Land the fucking plane.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, but. My point is, there's more to be said about this. So it's kind of time for us to the outro music, So, ladies and gentlemen, this really has been our longest at 2 hours and 52 minutes. I think our longest has been 2 hours 45 last time, but anyway, I can barely string two words together.
Irish poutine.
Anyway,
blame the poutine.
Listen, love. It's been lovely. It's been great fun as ever.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. And if you've stuck with us, well, thank you very much. We're eternally grateful. And we hope you'll stick with us. We are now on YouTube.
We're now, by the way, teenagers.
Oh, teenagers.
13.
Oh, 13,
13,
yes.
we're teenagers.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Which means we're going to get more grumpy, more sullen,
definitely more unreasonable.
Definitely more unreasonable, and then the hormones kick in.
Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you so much again for listening in, everybody, and we look forward to entertaining you, annoying you, or whatever it might be. But as long as you're listening, that's fine with us. Good night.